Jeremiah Love breaks free. Jeremiah Love trying to go 98. Touchdown! What a run in the first touchdown of the 12-team playoff.
This is 365 Sports.
Daniels keeps it, and he scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown, Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again, rumbling towards the end zone, and the touchdown for Anzio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik for the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go on this beautiful but incredibly windy where we are in Central Texas. Wherever you are, we hope you've had a really good day. We hope you enjoy. And this has been special. You reach out to people for guests, media relations at various colleges, and then they click all at once. Willie Fritz today, Kalani Sitake today will be a part of our show. Ari Temkin, Big 12 Radio on TuneIn today. And all of that and the Big 12 Mojo rankings, college football picks. What else? Top 5, Super Chat, The Wheel, and poll results. One hell of a lineup, and we're glad you're here. Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina, along with Brandon Rowe, Garrett Ross, and Andrew Valade. First story out of the bat, of course, we've discussed quite a bit, the college football coaching carousel. And with Florida and LSU open, there has been at least the thought, which would make sense to at least look at it, kick the tires with Lane Kiffin. Nick Saban saying, though, that would be not a very smart thing to do, perhaps, for Lane Kiffin. Because why? Because jobs that weren't great jobs before are now. Lane is the first name up for Florida, first name up for LSU. But I think you can have a long debate on whether either one of those jobs is actually better than the job he has now, because he has some guys over there at Ole Miss that give him pretty much whatever he wants from a roster standpoint.
Well, let's go through it. Brian Kelly was fired. He had to give $1 million of his own contract to jumpstart the NIL fundraising, which might not have been jump-started because the people that have that money didn't like Brian Kelly. Who knows? Both universities, Florida and LSU, don't have presidents right now. LSU doesn't have one. Florida doesn't have one. LSU's university president is essentially the governor, who said today that Scott Woodward is not going to make the hire, that the board of supervisors is going to make the hire. So that would make me uncomfortable just in general if I'm anybody interviewing for this job. That's essentially a little bit better at Florida. At least, Scott Strickland's going to be making the hire. But if a new president comes in and in a couple of years you're not successful and they don't like Scott Strickland, then you and he might be gone. So I think that maybe the grass isn't always greener, and Lane Kiffin has built Ole Miss into something and might be making a deep playoff run this year, so it might be hard to get him anyway. I agree with Nick Saban here. I don't know if the grass is greener to LSU and Florida anymore. I think everything's a lot different. And all things being equal, I would just take a nice little raise from Ole Miss and stay there.
Well, he's going to get one from them no matter what. But that obviously is there. He said, though, earlier and over the weekend that money is not what drives him. Usually early on, coaches, yes, that an ego. But he said he wants the right fit, and he feels great about where he is. Craig?
Well, first of all, what's up, chat? What's up, everybody out there watching, listening? Hope you're doing well. And they being the LSU media did have a little bit of an update on the president, the open job that you just mentioned. Apparently, according to Piper Hutchinson, the LSU Board of Supervisors will meet November the 4th. So that's 5-6 days from now to hire their next president. And the 3 finalists are visiting campus and meeting with faculty, students, staff, athletics, etc. over the next several days. So the finalists are going to be around starting tomorrow and visiting and doing all that goes about that world and trying to figure out what's what. And then I guess in a short time, by next week, we should hear who the next LSU president is. So there is that. And I know that's not always very interesting to people, but it does matter in things like this, coaching hires and just big picture stuff. So since you mentioned that, there's the update. We should hear about that very soon. But I think my first thought, it's really nice to have Nick Saban to be able to comment on things like this now and not caught up in the coaching world where he's got to stick to coach speak or just is more concerned with his business and not so much everybody else's, even though time to time he'd venture out and comment on topics. It's cool to have him in the media and just to be able to be a completely open book about his opinions and things like this, especially coaches having these opportunities, and a guy he knows really well, especially in Lane Kiffin. But I agree with him. I don't think there's a huge difference in what he's doing and where he's at now than the potential in Gainesville and Baton Rouge. Now, I don't have all of the details. I don't know what LSU would offer. I don't know what Florida would offer. So without that, it's impossible to have a really hard grip on that opinion. But I think just on surface level, they're winning at a very high level. They seem to be committed to his program, and he's got an opportunity to make a unique name for himself there rather than being another guy at Florida, another guy at LSU. And so I think there's plenty of appeal to stay right where he is. But, I don't know where his mind's at. And again, we don't know what's being offered. Like, is there I can't turn this down possibly offer from LSU on the way? Is Florida going to double his money? Like, what's potentially out there for him? So the devil, like anything else, will be in the details, but it's good to be Lane Kiffin's agent. That we do know, and it's good to be Lane Kiffin because you've got a great football team right now that's very much headed towards the college football playoff, if not the SEC championship game as well. And now you've got all of these girls lining up to try and date you as well, even though you got a pretty good girl already. So he's a guy who's going to have a lot of choices to make here over the next few weeks. And I'm very curious to see where we end up on the other side of that.
I'm glad you brought up Saban. I know there's still people, no matter what he does, but won't like him. But he's an incredible, of course, a legacy coach, greatest maybe of all time. It probably is. But I enjoy listening to him. And he's not afraid to just get straight to it, whatever it might be. So I enjoy the fact that he gives feedback now on the sport that he loves, although now covers it, not coaches it.
Yeah, I mean, you also didn't finish his entire quote.
I was getting ready to do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe you've got alumni who are passionate about football, but are they willing to invest what you have to invest now to win? Because a lot of people don't believe in this shit as far as the current system of keeping up and being among the elite.
Yeah, and he's right about that, but I don't think that vibes with LSU and Florida. I think they're pretty all in. I mean, I think they're about as all in as they could possibly be with what they've now shown they're willing to do as far as just buyouts to make a coaching change.
Florida was so all in on NIL that they didn't even set up the structure before they started making promises.
Florida was figuring out how to cheat the system before it even got started. Yeah, I mean, and I'm joking, half joking there, but they and Miami were right out at the forefront of NIL and were the ones kind of rubbing people the wrong way. Miami especially, though. But, I think Florida and LSU, to that part of the quote from Saban, I don't think that's something you have to worry about there, is their commitment to winning or the alumni and donors' pocketbooks and whether those are going to open wide enough and have enough inside of them. I think those two are well suited and well prepared for whatever move they're about to make. So I would not question the winning there, but if he's talking about some other jobs that are out there, then yeah, I think that's fair. And I think just in general with coaching movements, that's something that better be at the very tip top of your list for any coach taking a new job, is what is the commitment level of your donors? And that was always important, but it's 10 times as important now. So yeah, that's got to be right at, if not the number one thing outside of, do I want to live here? Will my family like it here? What are you paying me? All right, now what? All right, where's the NIL? Like, what does the NIL look like? And so I think those two will have that squared away just fine. But yeah, there's some other jobs that won't be able to go all in the way others will be able to.
Now, one of the stories in college football, and we've seen some coaches maybe manipulate is a word, or a blurry line on who's healthy, what are the updates. Some have done this to a T, and some have kind of gone what I consider back like in the 1970s and 80s in high school football. Brett McMurphy with an article today, disingenuous coaches are manipulating availability reports with little enforcement from the conference. Just look at Utah, and nothing will change until there are real penalties, a power conference AD told On3 Sports. Nobody will take this seriously. He goes into some other examples of it. USC was fined $5,000 for a player that played in the fourth quarter who was presumably out because of injuries in front of him, so they had to play him. But I never thought there was going to be – I don't know how you enforce this. I really don't, but I understand that there's a concern of whether everyone's playing by the same, at least, protocol.
Well, I mean, so many coaches use this as gamesmanship anyway and always have. So much to the point where I think they believe the myth that it's something. You know, I think it's more comfort for them to think that they're pulling the wool over the other team's eyes, and that, you know, oh, Devin Dampier may play, may not play. Guess you guys have to watch more film this week. Like, well, I mean, you kind of know how much everybody does that anyway. So I think they'll be ready for you either way. But I don't know why anybody thought without like some sort of, if they just have to submit an injury report and the only thing that's going to happen to you is a $5,000 fine if somebody plays who is on the out part of it, then you could also just decide to never put anybody as out and just put all the outs as doubtful. And then you're like, oh, it's a miracle. He walks. There's so much subterfuge that goes on. $5,000 is nothing. So, and I don't know what kind of penalties you could have other than suspending coaches that would do it. And I don't think anybody's ever want to go that far on something like this.
Yeah, I, for one, am shocked and appalled that not everybody in college football is being totally honest about things. Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, what a nothing thing to try and get mad about. I mean, in this sport, especially where everybody at every time somewhere is within 5 feet of somebody trying to find a way to get an edge. Like, I mean, in every way imaginable, recruiting, on the field, off the field, facilities, uniforms, like whatever the case may be. We knew when this was all adopted that, number one, this is for gamblers. This whole thing's for gamblers. So I really don't give an S about whether the gamblers are upset that they're not getting all of their information, because this is what this was designed for, and that's not really my bag, so it doesn't bother me. I'm also, again, not shocked that coaches aren't being just completely 100% transparent, and that there are some, maybe like a Kyle Whittingham, who a lot of BYU fans especially were talking about in comments that I saw and various tweets about this, that he's kind of manipulating this in a way. And there was talk, like when these were adopted, that he has like a history of not being very open about it. But now, like, how's he going to manipulate it? And he kind of has, like, there's the whole situation about whether Devin Dampier was going to play, and then he did. And I don't think it's that big of a deal, honestly, guys. I think if you're a gambler and you're relying on these things, then sure it is. But beyond that, I don't think it really changes much. I think if there was something super nefarious going on, that would be problematic. But I don't think there's anything nefarious or like evil at play here, other than coaches being coaches and trying to conceal whatever they can to keep whatever advantage that they can. So I don't think Kyle Whittingham's alone in that. And yeah, if you are really that adamant and serious about it, then you're going to have to do a lot more than levying a $5,000 fine because we're just done talking about coaching spots where they just pull together in the span of like 24, 48 hours, like $50 million just to fire a guy. So I don't think they're all that worried about $5K for twisting the truth on something that might help you win a game that Saturday. If there's even something that could possibly be that important that would have that much of an effect on the game. So I know there's a comment in McMurphy's article about somebody saying, I've been saying all season the Big 12 needs to give this teeth if we're going to do it. I don't know if that comes from like a Joey McGuire who's totally transparent based on what we know, who's a bit rubbed the wrong way by those who aren't doing it that way. But I don't feel like this is that big of a deal, and I don't think that it's really anything that's affecting the game all that negatively. It's just to be expected, honestly. I didn't think anything other than somebody was going to find a way to manipulate anything that they possibly can, such as injury reports.
Yeah, and I don't know. Again, I don't know how you could find a school if you want. That's fine, but I don't know if you could actually prove that they manipulated the injury report. But it was an interesting story because I've seen some that are absolutely like taking their clothes off. This is who we are. This is who's available.
Well,
and then others who basically, McGuire, Dillingham, and then even when they do, and they're, I even heard, and I remember in the chat room, I forgot which team it was. It might have been Arizona State or Tech about the quarterback. And was like, he's just, even when you are very much transparent. Dillingham said this about a week or two ago, that people even think you're playing mind games when they're actually saying exactly what they know from their injury report, and the status reports is also what it's called too.
I think there's some people that I saw that love blue and white that are in the state of Utah that want this to be a really big deal and look really bad on Kyle Whittingham. And I love you and I respect you and y'all are having a hell of a season, but this isn't some big, great scandal. This is coaches being coaches. And yeah, if all you're going to threaten them with is $5,000, then they're going to just laugh at that punishment and keep going about their business. So if you think it's a serious matter and you think it needs to be treated more seriously, you're going to have to come up with a more serious punishment. But then how do you levy that, and how do you prove that they're actually trying to be they're trying to be some I keep going back to nefarious. Yeah.
They're like, yeah, they are like, they're always withholding information. Like they always do. And there's, we have two coaches on the show today who are gloriously honest people. But even then, when it comes to football, the 10 Commandments, that one is a little bit looser, right? That thou shalt not lie much. Like, you got to keep some secrets. And I think that, the fact that there's pearl clutching, obviously, from the gambling community, but again, nobody
moral high bars. Yeah.
Nobody is going to feel bad that you might have gotten some bad information, and that you lost some money.
What? Most teams already know. They just do. They do. They know. They know. Speaking of an injury, Cincinnati's running back who's had a really good year, Evan Pryor, is out officially. Big 12 availability report for the game coming up at Utah on Saturday with ESPN College Game Day. Two teams that are right there in the mix for who's going to play eventually in Arlington. He's had a really good year, averages 7.2 yards a carry, came out of Ohio State, almost 500 yards. And now the backup is Tawi Walker, and who's got 466, and he's averaging 5 yards a carry. He will now be the running back at Salt Lake City against Utah this weekend.
Yeah, it's it's kind of a good news, bad news thing. It's not good news at all that you're not going to have Evan Pryor. He's a damn good player. But it's bad news. It's good news that you have Tawi Walker, and it's also bad news for the other team that now they have to try to tackle him more because he is a load and runs right at you. But yeah, this has been their running game. Is not just Sorsby and like it's all these guys. So not having Pryor, who had a couple runs against Baylor last week, where I was like, man, this guy's a stud. I mean, he is a chain mover, and yeah, it's a bummer that they're not going to have him this week.
Yeah, that's certainly notable news. I mean, that's one of their best players there that they're now without. I do think they have a reliable option there in Tawi Walker, who I saw start his career at Oklahoma, eventually find his way here to Cincinnati. But Pryor, another guy who they brought in through the portal originally, an Ohio State guy. And so in the midst of this success that they're having, the one thing that can start to kind of put some cracks in that whole thing, as we've seen with Texas Tech potentially, is the injuries. And how much can you withstand those, and how key are the players that are getting banged up? And in this case, pretty key, but not something you can't overcome. And the good news is I don't think it's something they've ruled him out for the rest of the season or anything by that standard. So that's always something you kind of hold your breath over. But he will look to be returning at some point, just
and
not
they're
this
off
weekend.
Next week.
And that's good too, that they'll have that extra time. So maybe he'll be back on the other side of that. So if there's a positive to take from that, it's the fact that it's not something that's been ruled season ending. But yeah, I think Tyree Walker is more than capable of handling the load. And Sorsby, as you mentioned, is also a pretty nice run threat as well. And Cincinnati is just a great story that I think everybody's starting to kind of beginning to wrap their arms around, just in time for probably for them to turn around and maybe take their first loss, but they're getting deserved attention. And I think that it's really cool to see. I don't know how much you guys have probably realized this, but you look at what's happening in the league right now, and those new booties are carrying a lot of the weight.
Oh, no, the incoming 8.
No incoming. They've been around for 2 years, but yeah, those new schools, they're Arizona State, BYU. Utah's throwing a little bit of muscle around, certainly on a better footing than they were a year ago. Arizona's kind of hanging around. Cincinnati is obviously a great story right now. Houston's a great story right now. So there's an imaginary line drawn, like the old versus the new, right? And how all that would work out. And for a long time, we were like, well, I hope the new teams can, especially the ones that maybe don't have all the resources in the world, can pick up their slack. And you look around and they're doing pretty well for themselves right now. So Cincinnati, it's great to see them doing well. And I think with Utah, it's going to be a tough test whether you had Evan Pryor or not. It doesn't really change the outcome for me, but I hope he gets healthy soon.
They have over 1,500 yards rushing, Cincinnati, and Pryor had 400, almost 500 of it, so almost not quite a third of it. But then again, Walker and Sorsby have almost 900 combined with what they do. So there's that note about Cincinnati, Utah, and the availability of running back Evan Pryor. Big 12. We did quite a bit on Monday and Tuesday, but we did not get to this. And it like fingernails on a chalkboard. And there's always two. And I've even complained about this. Bird Ficklin, what a story for him, Utah quarterback, and Connor Wigman at Houston, Offensive Players of the Week. Also, BYU and Houston under the list of Defensive Players of the Week. And Nate McCashlin of TCU, and Jacoby Williams, who's been a spectacular freshman at a Beckville High School in East Texas, special teams. Then you have Ficklin as the freshman, Utah and Houston. They're in here a lot as the offense and defensive line of the week.
Yeah, it's I'm
Ficklin was crazy.
Yeah, Ficklin. Yeah, I think we haven't gotten a chance to talk about that one as much, and it was the late game. So I know a lot of people didn't see it, and you might have, even if you started watching it, might have turned it off after halftime because it was an absolute drubbing.
They kicked Colorado's ass.
Yeah, it was.
Did you see the halftime graphic, the image of the score and the stats? Colorado had a minus 18 yards of offense.
Yeah, and just Bird Ficklin and Utah were just running all over them, and it looks good for the future at quarterback for Utah because Bird can fly, baby. He was moving around.
51 yards, the most by a Utah running back on the ground in one game in 3 decades. 30 years is what we're talking about with what he did.
Do you mean a quarterback?
Yes, on the ground, most by a Utah quarterback in the last 3 decades.
You said running back, but yeah, he's a fun player just in this small sample size to watch, and I'm looking very much forward to seeing more of him moving forward. I guess we'll see how that's sort of divvied up between he and Devin Dampier, because we know Kyle Whittingham's going to keep it close to the vest and probably not just tell us straight up. But regardless, they have a nice backup option that not many of us were all that aware of on, how much of a great option they had behind Devin Dampier. And based on last week, I don't want to take too much over a win over Colorado, respectfully, but that was a good showing. And to have nearly 600 yards of offense, when Utah, we've seen them struggle. I mean, they had a hard time. They could move the ball against BYU, but they could not finish drives, right? And last year obviously was a huge struggle for them offensively. So, yeah, they lit it up against the Buffaloes. He was fantastic. And just his first start. Like, that's his first start. He's winning Conference Player of the Week, just like that. So, be careful about getting into the expectations too crazy right out of the gates. But, man, it's not a bad chapter one. That's for damn sure.
What's the country song with Muskogee?
Okie from Muskogee?
Yeah, it's from Muskogee, Oklahoma. It's where he went to high school, the true freshman.
Yeah,
and a pretty good sized kid, 6'1", 200 pounds.
That's Merle Haggard, one of the all-time greats. But you know what? It shows Kyle Whittingham will tell everybody who will listen and anybody who watches them, look, they block really well. Like, they have a fantastic offensive line. So if you've got to start a true freshman with some athleticism, it's kind of a, it's kind of a no-lose situation if you're just like, all right, well, we can block for him. So as long as he doesn't make mistakes and just uses those legs to do that, you're going to get some yards. And I mean, Colorado, on the other side of it, I just don't know what to make of them right now. It's kind of like a week-to-week thing.
They're a hard team to peg because they are very up and down.
It's erratic.
It's just sort of all over the place. And I just wonder what the future holds there with Dion and probably all the opportunities he has to go and do pretty much anything he would want to, but also all of the health issues that have to be taking some toll. I mean, he's a tough guy, man. I mean, he's a tough guy with all that he's been through. So I don't know what the future holds. We were curious about how it would work without his safety blankets and Travis Hunter and Shador and Shiloh, and hadn't been good. I mean, it's had a couple of moments where it's been okay, but it's mostly been down more than up. And yeah, I don't know how they really get it all on track. I did want to finish this out though, because it does give us an opportunity to talk about some people or some things that we don't quite get to. But going back over the rest of, I mean, Connor Wegman's been great. True dual threat too, which I know we talked to Willie Fritz previously about that, but great to see him just surging, and what a difference that makes for Houston at the quarterback position to have a guy like him. We saw last year with the back and forth of Zion Chris and Donovan Smith and the turnovers, and just that was really a big anchor for them. So Wegman's freed them up and has played really well, and he's got some good players around him, even though you lose a guy like Stephon Johnson. I mean, there's others that have helped pick up the slack. Then defensively, Falatau Satuala is a freaking stud, man. I mean, that dude is a badass on a team full of badasses, but he is really, really good for BYU. Had the huge pick six. And then what was it? Eddie Walls for Houston. 3 sacks, Garrett, for him on Saturday.
Yeah,
3 sacks for Eddie Walls as their defense lose a coordinator to Tech and just go about your business like there was never even a blip on the radar pretty much for them. And then special teams wise, McCashlin for TCU had I think it was 3 field goals in that game, and Jacoby Williams had the big opening kickoff return for Tech. So, yeah, it's cool to kind of see the weekly awards and kind of how those were earned. But yeah, Satuala is, man, I'd love to have him on my team. That's for damn sure.
One other note, I watched a lot of that game, and there are those two teams defensively was just fun to watch how they can shut some people down, and BYU with the comeback as much with their defenses. And then, of course, there was the inadvertent touch on a punt.
Okay, whose fault was that?
Well,
the kickers? I mean, the return man's? Or the blockers?
Well, someone's got to yell, pickle, 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 or whatever they yell. Fire. Yeah, but that doesn't mean you hear him in that crowd.
Right.
Because it's so loud. At the same time, if you're a teammate, I've never understood, if you see there could be danger, go tackle your teammate away from the football.
Well, right afterwards, the two of them were talking, and so I took that to mean, I forget the player's name who the ball touched, who was blocking, but he turned to his return man. They were walking off, and I wonder what the exchange was. Probably like, why did you say something? I did say something, or I didn't say something. But you talk about, I'm glad I don't remember his name because I don't want to make it a personal thing, but you talk about just, I can't even say it's boneheaded because it wasn't intentional, obviously, and I don't know how much was his fault, but you talk about just like, are you kidding me? Play from a perspective of a fan watching and how heated this game is, and like you cannot make that mistake.
Especially where it was. It's in your own territory,
yeah,
which most of the time a punt return. But the BYU, I saw a comment in the postgame where a player or two said they saw that Iowa State might be vulnerable to that because of what they've seen on film, that there's guys that are kind of just lingering around a ball when it's kind of just starting to try to die.
There's also the argument of, did the BYU guy he was locked up with push him into the path of the football? And that could have very well been the case as well.
I can tell you as someone who played a lot of special teams in high school, that's what we try to do. I mean, like, if I could knock somebody onto the ball and be like, oops, I didn't see it.
Yeah, I saw some people calling it out like it was like, throw the flag on the – and it's like, that's how special teams works.
No, I mean, like, I can't see it. It was over my head. Like, the ball hit the ground. If the returner doesn't say anything – and here's the other thing. If you're on on the special team, on the kicking team, you're not listening to anything. You're just trying to block your guy.
Yeah,
so you can phase things out. So
that was brutal, though.
Yeah, but if you're
apparently last week a high school game here locally, a team had to force they had the lead. They forced their opponent to punt. La Vega, they punted and it randomly hit off the side of the helmet of a player who was running back to block for the deep cover, the return man. One other note, an award. He is having a year. Drew Mestemaker. We've discussed his story. We've had Eric Morris on the show. The Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award. Every week they have a winner. And then at the end of the year, an early part of 2026, they'll have an overall winner. What a game. 608 yards, 4 touchdowns, 37 of 49 in a win. And they beat Charlotte 54-20. He has been one of the great stories. What was the last time he never started in high school? Is that right?
There's people that are confusing the story now and kind of getting bits and pieces of it wrong. But he played like early on as like on the freshman teams or whatever those would have been.
I'm talking about varsity, yeah.
But on varsity he did not start, and the big reason why was because Deuce Adams, who's now at Louisville, his father's a coach. His father was hired by the high school to join the staff, and once they moved to town, then I guess they had a competition, and Deuce Adams won that competition. It sounded from the recollections of it like it was pretty close, but I'm sure it didn't hurt to have a father who was a coach on staff. Like, maybe if you need, like, what's the deciding factor? Like, maybe that tipped it. I don't know, but it sounded like it was competitive.
No, he's Deuce Adams. We got to see him. He's
riding the bench at Louisville, and Drew Mestemaker's lining up and winning weekly awards. I'm saying that, like, having a coach who's moved in to just take the job probably didn't hurt his chances to win the job, especially if it was a close competition. So whatever happened there, Deuce Adams wins the job, has a great career, but Mestemaker has to sit back, and instead of sulking, he started playing defense and just playing what he could and doing as well as he could with that. And then once he got his opportunity, he took full advantage of it here at North Texas.
It's incredible. It's another one of those Eric Morris finds, as we've talked about. He's on that list with many, many others.
Yes, and there's a great story like Shehan Jayaraja had a big background piece for if you really want the details of it. But, yeah, I mean, Deuce Adams is at Louisville. Obviously, he's sitting behind Miller Moss right now, right? So, I don't know what his future is as far as when he's going to see the field more, but Mestemaker has a really cool backstory and has a high school teammate that's also one of the guys that he's throwing to each week. And I think the really intriguing part is not only did he put up massive numbers this week, but there's a lot of jobs open, fellas. There's a lot of jobs that could be interested in Eric Morris. What's better than a head coach you bring in?
Oh, yeah.
What's better than a head coach you bring in? A head coach has got a damn good quarterback that he could bring with him.
Yeah.
So
that and the fact that I know that he's a quarterback developer and somebody who can see talent where maybe others don't.
Let's run down his list again. What was it he told us? It was Patrick Mahomes, John Mateer, Cam Ward, and
Cam Ward. You mentioned Cam Ward.
Was it Baker
Mayfield.
And Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Not bad.
We're going to have Ari Temkin in a moment, Big 12 Radio. One other note, last night, and there's some other college football stories we'll get as we go, but Texas State beaten 52-20 by James Madison's a hell of a football team, but 52-20, and Texas State and G.J. Kinney, 0-4 right now in the Sun Belt, losing by 32.
Yeah. The Sun Belt's a tough league. Anyway, it's a fun league. That's why they call it the Fun Belt. GJ Kenny, though, I guess the Bloom, maybe he and Jeff Traylor, the Bloom have come off their rose for this year in the cycle. You never know. I mean, they might be a fit somewhere, but probably they'll wind up back in next year's, and I think they'll both be fine. The coach you do need to think about, though, we're just talking about Eric Morris, Bob Chesney at JMU. He is very good.
Yeah.
He is very good. He's young. He's 48 years old. He's ready for that next thing. So, I actually think that's who Penn State should hire. That's who I think they should. The more I think
there's
about
another
it.
coach that came from JMU not too long ago, right? Who's doing pretty well for himself, right?
Yeah, Indiana.
Yeah. So
Kurt Signetti. Yep.
Yeah. I don't think they will, because I think they're gonna. Well, maybe they will. I mean, Pat Kraft might see it and go, "All right, this guy is dominating there. Let's give him a bunch of money and see what he does here." So, but yeah. Keep an eye on Bob Chesney. I don't think he's going to be at JMU next year, especially given the amount of jobs that are open and the quality of those jobs.
Yeah, I mean, Brad Jackson had a bunch of turnovers last night for Texas State, and JMU is a close game early, and then JMU kind of started to pull away there, and did not get good vibes off of Texas State. Definitely didn't get I want to hire that head coach vibes off of that game in particular last night. But Lonze Barnett is a really good quarterback for James Madison, and he helped lead the way last night. But I'd almost forgotten it's like a Tuesday night, and I'm sitting there going, oh, hell, there's college football on. There's a couple of games on. But that was a nice win for them. They're in control out in the Eastern Division right now in the Sun Belt. And Texas State, as you said, I mean, they're out of it. I mean, they're 0-4 in the league, so they are completely out of it. But they'll go run the Pac-12, I guess, is what they'll go do after this. But not a way to really carry a lot of momentum into your new league with the way that they're going right now. And should mention that the other game last night is notable because of the fact that it's a pretty cool story that you're only in your second year at the highest level of college football, and you've now managed to go get your first bowl berth. So congratulations to Kennesaw State, who is now 6-2 after beating UTEP, and just in their second year at FBS, and they're now going bowling. So shout out to Kennesaw State.
Wasn't that one of the schools that got had to wait a probationary period again? Yep, like we've seen a lot of others do. Fit 33-20. Couple of games tonight: Jacksonville State, Middle Tennessee State, Florida International, and Missouri State. Break here, Garrett. A super chat from Scott in Florida. When will schools actually start filling these head coach openings before the December portal, or right in the middle of?
There's not a December portal.
Or right in the middle of the season and playoffs, it's turning into a mess. That's right. They moved it back to January, just 8 to 12 days or so in Jan. But still, thank you, Scott. Appreciate the super chat. Very good question, by the way. And I don't know.
It's going to get messier. It's going to get messier. Think of it like the whole college football is a toddler with a plate of spaghetti, and they're just throwing it on the ground right now. Like, that's what it's going to be. But
without a bib.
Yeah, exactly. It's a mess. We had Justin Giangrande on, an NIL agent, last week. I asked him the player's perspective and the coach's perspective on the new transfer rules. And he said from his perspective as an agent dealing with players and coaches, they all kind of like it because it gives them some room to breathe. And if you had decided before the season you're probably going to the portal because you're done with this coach, well, if you're at a school that you like, and a good one, like if you're at LSU and decide I'm done with Brian Kelly, you might stay there now and wait it out because you want to see who they hire. So it'll probably be a little bit later than it was a year ago.
Thank you for the super chat. Do appreciate that. I think it depends on who's being hired. Is it a position coach like a Joey McGuire when he was hired from Baylor that feels like he can leave in middle of November, late November, and then get started? Or is it somebody that needs to sit around and finish out their season as a head coach or a big-time coordinator? So that'll play into some of it. But I would anticipate that we start talking about some hirings probably a little less than a month from now. We got 5 weeks to go, so I'd say about another 3 weeks. And
Conference
then we're starting
championship week where a lot of teams aren't playing.
Yeah, so like about 3.5 weeks from now, I'd anticipate we start hearing some like rock-solid sort of movement. But I wouldn't think it's too much sooner than that.
I'll make a prediction. I think you're going to hear James Franklin, if he's a serious candidate at a couple of these places, like maybe like Virginia Tech if he wants to go there, or if he's really a candidate at Florida LSU, you might hear his name before anyone else.
Well, he's free, so he can go now and not be worried about disrupting a season. So that could happen quicker. But I'd say middle of November we'll start to really kick tires on some finalizations of some stuff. Yeah,
teams will start to know if they're in bowl games. Teams will start to know, obviously, if they're in a conference championship game or possibility. We're about to go high level. Ari Temkin, Willie, Fritz, Kalani, Sitake, Craig's Big 12 Mojo rankings, our college football picks, and then that big ending. And this is 365 Sports. I wrote it all down, and it's pettyclinicalot.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. What does all of that mean? 1 out of every 3 to 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone, and it could just be bottom line, your energy is not the same. Yeah, you hear about ED and your performance or even your sex drive changes, and that's a big deal too. Or maybe you're not sleeping quite the same, and a lot of that can be affected by other things that you do in your life, like even your diet or exercise, one or the other. But it absolutely, low T happens. It happens as you get into your 30s, now really 40s and 50s. And then all of a sudden, it's just like Mother Nature, Father Time. It takes over. So maybe you just happen to be, it's you. You're it. Dr. Kent Petty, contact him, pettyclinicalot.com. They'll set you up to get your blood work, take care of it, get the results, contact you, and give you the option for you to become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, used to be at pettyclinicalot.com.
That's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf car batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And of course, online at golfballs.com.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
It's back 0% for 72 months on all 2025 Ram 1500 trucks during the Drive into Fall event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Check out a 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab with a massive $16,000 off, or a 2025 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $12,000 off, and both at 3.9 for 72 months. And if you drive a Ford, Toyota, or GM, get an extra $1,500 bonus cash. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettyclinicalot.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettyclinicalot.com.
It's
football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game, poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
365 Sports and Ari Temkin. Back and forth Tuesdays and Wednesdays. He has oral surgery coming up, and he had to go get a consultation. Paul, you went through that about a week ago. Ari, thanks for your time.
Month ago, yeah.
And so, hey, man, Craig brought this up a second ago, and I know you and I have talked about this, as we all have, but look at the teams that entered the conference in the last couple of 3 years and where they are, other than UCF, who's trying to figure things out. All of them seem to be making a push, and some we thought would be last year. Utah wasn't, but they're back this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you look at the first four, BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston, the two teams that had really been disappointments were Houston and Cincinnati. I mean, UCF to a degree, but I think year one, UCF got to bowl eligibility, and BYU obviously has won, 19 of their last 20 games, or 21 games. But Houston and Cincinnati are both teams that hadn't finished plus 500 yet, and now here they both are, with similar seasons, similar dynamics. I think what Willie Fritz is doing here in year two is unbelievable. And, Scott Satterfield is saving his job.
Ari, Scott Satterfield knew. Like, you talked to him big media as we did. We got the feeling that he knew something. He had a secret that everybody else was going to find out, and he couldn't wait to see it. I wonder do you think the Louisville thing cast this like pall over his career in a short term of like, this guy doesn't know how to coach anymore because it didn't go well at Louisville, even though the whole time he was there, they wanted Jeff Brown to be their coach anyway.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think, Paul, it's multifaceted. So I think you've got to start with like the situation that Scott Satterfield inherited. You have a unbelievable stretch of 2 seasons for Cincinnati with unprecedented success under Luke Fickell. But not just that. I mean, you had, I believe it was 18 players over 2 seasons that were drafted in the NFL. I mean, this isn't LSU or Georgia or Texas. This is Cincinnati. To have that many players drafted from your team in 2 years, like that's going to give you some issues in terms of your depth and ability to replace those guys. You don't just at Cincinnati replace NFL talent with more NFL talent like a lot of these other teams are able to do. So, I mean, Satterfield walked into a situation that was devoid of talent. And then on top of that, as they're joining the Big 12, because that all happened at once. Fickell left for Wisconsin. Satterfield gets hired. They join the Big 12. All these players have been drafted over 2 draft cycles. And by the way, they're in a conference that they're getting basically half as much as, the rest of the teams in the conference from a television revenue up until this year. So a lot of things were working against them. Now, look, I think with Satterfield, there were legitimate questions. I mean, this was a team last few years that couldn't get out of its own way. They, had penalty issues or turnovers or things down the stretch of the season that I think you could certainly go back and blame on Satterfield to a degree. And yeah, you're right. There was sort of a slyness about him during media days that now makes it look like, he had a sense of this was going to happen all year. I will share, though, that it felt like the same slyness existed in 2024 with him at media days. But I think it was pretty obvious to him, to Brendan Sorsby, what the issues were last year and really the last couple of years. They were really mostly devoid of talent was at wide receiver. And so Sorsby got into a situation where he became much more of a running quarterback last year because he didn't trust the receivers. They weren't creating separation at the top of their routes. There was just a whole mess at the wide receiver position for them last year. And Satterfield said as much. Sorsby wouldn't, but Satterfield did. Satterfield also told some media days that as long as he's been at Cincinnati, they have not had one non-offensive touchdown. And I think that is still the case. I'm trying to think off the top of my head this season if they have a defensive touchdown, a special teams touchdown. But that is remarkably hard to win in football when you're not able to get, in a game or every other game or twice a season, a defensive touchdown, a special teams touchdown, another way to score touchdowns. It makes the margin slimmer and means you have to score, and be that perfect on offense. I mean, K-State, as well as they're playing right now, like they're +9 in the turnover differential. In Big 12 play, they're +10 in Big 12 play alone. And I mean, they turned 4 turnovers by Kansas last week into 21 points. They turned 2 turnovers against TCU into 14 points defensively for them. So, I mean, when you look at some teams and how they're able to take turnovers and turn them into touchdowns, and in some cases defensively, like I think that all adds up to why it's been so tough for Cincinnati. And look, it's been a really good season for them because I think they figured out the wide receiver issues. Their running back situation has been really, really helpful. Probably the most underrated part of their team this year is Evan Pryor and Tyree Walker. And then, of course, the defense. They're guys that emerged beyond Dante Corleone. In the last couple of years, Corleone get double-teamed or even triple-teamed in some situations, and nobody else could take advantage. And now Cincinnati is really doing that. And obviously, you guys saw this, but Baylor, 20 points is the lowest output this season from an offensive perspective. That, to me, was the most impressive part of Cincinnati's win over Baylor, was holding Baylor's high-powered offense to just 20 points.
So, Ari, just like we all predicted, Week 10 college game day, Cincinnati at Utah. Definitely had that written down in ink at the beginning of the year. They've been a great story, but now they're going to Salt Lake City, and Utah post BYU. I mean, they did obscene things to Colorado last week. That was just such a butt-whooping. So what are you anticipating with this game and the big spotlight coming up on Saturday night?
Yeah, somebody needed to tell Kyle Whittingham that children were watching that game.
Right, man. I mean, it was bad, yeah.
Very inappropriate. And, I mean, to do it with Bird Ficklin at quarterback? Who? What?
Bird freaking Ficklin. That's who, yeah.
Bird freaking Ficklin. I mean, say that name 3 times.
Nope.
So
not going to do it, yeah.
The crazy part to me about this game is the 8.5-point line. I get Utah being at home. It just seems like a lot of points against a team that's been very good. And that's one of those Vegas lines where you're like, man, it feels like you should lean into it because they want you to bet Cincinnati on it. Look, Utah wins up front on offense and defense. And when they don't, Texas Tech happens. But, I mean, like the Colorado game was just this evidence of that. And Colorado's got some dudes up front, but they – for 4 quarters, really, I mean, for 2, because they're 43-0 at halftime, just absolutely destroyed them up front. I mean, it was as old school smash mouth football as you can get, which is how a guy like Bird Ficklin can make his first career start and look like that. So my guess is Vegas estimates that as good as Cincinnati's offensive and defensive lines have looked this year, that they're not on the same level as Utah's. And, I think Cincinnati has a very good offensive line. They've got one of the best centers in the country in Gavin Gearhart. I think they've got a really good defensive front, as we talked about. You're not just with Corleone, but with guys that have emerged. So again, it feels like I want to lean into it because Vegas wants you to bet on Cincinnati, but I just don't buy it. I think this game will be closer than a touchdown. I think Cincinnati has shown, that they can win in multiple ways. They can win when they're not playing their best. They've won multiple games this year when they're not playing well, when they're down in the turnover differential. So yeah, I mean, and to your point, Craig, who would have ever thought? I mean, when you look at the schedule this weekend, there are probably 4 or 5 other games. Arizona State, Iowa State. I mean, obviously Texas Tech, K-State's a big one. Maybe even Arizona, Colorado. And it was outlined as being a better game on the docket. So this one certainly wouldn't have stood out as being the one that game day would be attending. And yeah, now the line I'm seeing it's 10.5. So it's moving more and more towards Utah, which again, I'm just leaning into Cincinnati now.
Texas Tech won yet again, though. The injury bug gets them. Hammett out for the year. Baron Morton will start. Golly, he's in and out. They've kind of found some resiliency, but eventually you wonder if it catches up with them. But also, K-State, did they get their did they get some of that back that it seemed like they were missing, hitting and missing earlier in the year, Ari?
Yeah, and that was not a fun game to be at. And I drove up with my family to Lawrence this weekend to visit my alma mater and go to the football game and see the new stadium. And I can tell you the new stadium looks amazing. Can't wait for it to be fully finished. Kansas now has a real football stadium and a great environment. It's amazing. Now, it was cold and rainy, and Kansas got absolutely butt whooped for basically 3+ quarters. The Kansas forced a fumble on the opening kickoff for K-State, scored a touchdown on the opening drive, and that was about it for Kansas in terms of, success in that game. Look, with K-State, I think it is pretty obvious. Their offense looks considerably better. Avery Johnson, we're not hearing as much complaints, and I certainly think they're doing some things differently on offense that make that he's running more. He's a little bit more aggressive, but I mean they're plus 10 in conference play in the turnover differential. They're +9 overall this season, which means, most of the damage they've done in turnovers have been in conference play in the last 2 weeks. I mean, they had 4 turnovers against Kansas. They had 2 against TCU. And I think in the TCU game, those 2 turnovers were the difference of the game. So, because they came basically, Hoover had the pass behind line of scrimmage that was ruled a fumble that was returned for a touchdown at the end of the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, Hoover had a pick 6. So it was 14 points like that. And then they rode Joe Jackson to the finish line. So, I think certainly they figured some stuff out, but they're just having a lot of success with turnovers. And they scored 21 points against Kansas off 4 turnovers like that. If Texas Tech doesn't turn the ball over, they should be fine. Now, with that being said, Kansas State has now won 17 straight against Kansas, which is an embarrassment and
unbelievable.
A different story altogether. And Lance Leipold needs to be doing something different next year when going into that year, because he's now 0-5 against K-State with an average loss of 12 points in each of those games. It's just bad, real bad, especially for this Kansas fan. But K-State's been almost as dominant against Texas Tech. They've won 8 straight. The last win for Texas Tech came when Patrick Mahomes was their quarterback in 2015. And the last win in Manhattan for Texas Tech was in 2005. So, or 2008, excuse me. So it's been a while. They've won 12 of 13. But again, if that history doesn't really matter here because Texas Tech is just a different animal this year. I think it's obvious that if Baron Morton's not healthy the rest of the year, that any sort of expectations of Texas Tech being, a Big 12 championship or even national championship type contenders, as outlandish as that may seem, go out the window without Morton. I mean, it's good that they've got a credible quarterback in Mitch Griffiths, but you're not going to really judge, how effective he truly is against an Oklahoma State team that at this point looks like the mid-2000s Kansas teams that are not, Vegas can't figure out how bad they are because they set that line last week at 38 points. And, obviously that was easily set by Texas Tech. So, it's Baron Morton or bust at this point. They've got to figure out a way to keep him healthy. I think this is a really big matchup for them because K-State's playing really well, especially on defense. A big reason they've been turnover machines, has been the play of Desmond Purnell. And if they can't block him, then he could injure Baron Morton again. And now all bets are off in terms of the rest of the season. So, the key in this one, as it will be for all teams playing K-State, is do not turn the ball over, because it seems like, based on these turnover numbers from last, 6 weeks of the season, when they played in Big 12 play, turn the ball over against Kansas State is death. So that's the key in this game. And it starts with blocking Desmond Purnell, which Kansas was not able to do consistently.
All right, look, it's round ball season now in Lawrence. Darren Peterson's there, and that's the drug that they can cut up into a powder and snort to get over their woes.
Well, that's usually the go-to, but when you're 0-5 in your last 5 against K-State, you lost to Missouri this year too. I'm done with that. Basketball is cool, but we're not even running the Big 12 anymore like Kansas used to. So you're right to a degree, but at the same time, it's just this old trope where it's at some point you got to figure out how to beat these teams in football because it's an embarrassment. And you can't, my thing this morning that I went off on a rant on was you just can't keep treating this game like it's every other game, because whatever you're doing, if you're Lance Leipold, is not working. And as good as Lance Leipold has been for Kansas, you can't keep losing to Kansas State, and especially by a margin of 12 points.
Ari, a final thing for me. This was more of an
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, did you have anything else, Paul?
No. I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. We didn't know how all 8 of these teams would kind of get absorbed into the league and how it would pan out, but BYU's in first, Cincinnati, Utah, Arizona State. I mean, Houston as well. 5 of the top 6 teams right now are schools that just joined in the last few years, which I just found kind of interesting. But right there at the top, BYU. Maybe it's a hot sports take, man. I think they're pretty good, though, Ari. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, no kidding. Even with a true freshman quarterback who just continues to play better and better, it seems, every week. Like, Bird Ficklin was the freshman of the week this week in the Big 12, and it's an award we've renamed the Bear Bachmeier Award. And you only gave it to if the Big 12 only gave it to Ficklin so as to not give it to Bachmeier, because he's gotten it every week, and rightfully so, and he probably should have gotten it this week again. I mean, it's not just this year, man. They're 8-0 for the second straight year. They're 19-2 since the start of the 2024 season. Like, yeah, they're legit. I go back to something Sonny Dykes told me a couple of years ago at Big 12 Media Days. And this isn't like rocket science here, guys, but basically, like, what they found when they did some deep dives and research into who wins the Big 12, as it turns out, the best power running football teams tend to win this conference. And the teams you just highlighted there are the best power running football teams in the conference. I don't think that's a coincidence here. Like, BYU is built up front. Now we'll see the status of LJ Martin, because I think that is going to be a huge knock if he's not available. And the fact that BYU came back from the deficit that they faced at halftime in that environment without LJ Martin and a true freshman quarterback, and one going away, shows just how good they are. But they are loaded. I mean, it's not just Bachmeier. They are loaded on defense. Like, the thing about Cincinnati not scoring, getting touchdowns from only offense, like, BYU routinely scores in other ways, on special teams, on defense. It's insane how good they are at it. So, yeah, I mean, Craig, I think the common denominator is Houston is really good this year because Dean Connors, their physical running style, Connor Wegman, like, you got to keep him in the pocket. You cannot get him out in space. It's Brendan Sorsby, Tyree Walker, and Evan Pryor, LJ Martin, and Bear Bachmeier. Utah with Dan Pierre. I mean, they ran for 422 yards last week against Colorado. So, as much as this game has changed, as much as the game has evolved, it still seems to bear that the best teams right now in this conference are the best running football teams.
Yeah, that's a great point. Even TCU, the year they made their run, as good as they were with what they could do with their passing game, they could run the damn ball.
Look at Baylor last year. Bryson Washington. I mean, their run game was what set them apart with Sawyer and Bryson Washington. So it's like, it's the exact game plan that Houston is following. It's the exact game plan that BYU is following. I mean, they're all, what Baylor did last year is just, basically exactly what other teams are following in terms of a blueprint of, rushing quarterback, physical offensive line, and, and a really good running back that you can feature. And that is why those teams are where they are.
Buddy, we appreciate it. Sorry you went up there to watch that and then the weather to boot, but we appreciate it all the time. Tell everybody where they can find you. I know on TuneIn Radio and Win. And if you miss it at all, can they go grab it somewhere else?
Thank you, Smokey. Appreciate you, brother. Download the TuneIn app. Check us out. Search Big 12 Radio. We're now as part of Big 12 Studios, so you can watch us as well. Wherever you can get Big 12 Studios for free, whether it's on YouTube or other places. And we're on 7 to 10 a.m. every single morning, Central Time, 7 to 10 a.m. So, check us out. Obviously, love what you guys are doing and what we're doing and promoting and supporting the Big 12, because, Stuart Mandel from The Athletic tweeted about how the SEC is a league of parity this year, and it doesn't mean that it's a worse league for it. And it's a double standard that we need to call out the mainstream media for, holding different leagues to different standards when it comes to these same things. And we talked about that earlier this year already. But yeah, the SEC is a league of parity. It's still a great league. The Big 12 is a league of parity. It's trash. But, so it's important, I think, to support the media outlets that have the real sense of what the narrative should be around this conference.
Thank you, sir. Ari Temkin, college football, again, Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. Now, Houston, one of the great stories. Willie Fritz, his second year. Everywhere he's been, except for when he was at Georgia Southern, in his first year, they were 9-3. They went 8-4. He has been really good, and you can see the difference in year two. That and Connor Wegman, the impact he's had, and much more. Willie Fritz, University of Houston football coach, is next on 365 Sports. The Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium off I-35, and Nick Colwell just a few months ago took over as the general manager, and they renovated the club, different on the wall and shifted a few walls, and it's just the space is there. It was already nice. Now it's even better. I always say that, but bigger, better, faster, and stronger with what they have. A phenomenal menu. If you've never eaten there, you should. And I guarantee you, in some way or another, you'll go back, whether it's for a specific buffet, whether it's for brunch or possibly lunch or dinner. They have great food and great chefs to cook it for you. And on top of that, the amenities to enjoy while you're watching a game. Maybe not even a game, but it is homecoming this weekend. Any kind of special event, they have it inside there with numerous places for that to happen, whether there's 800 or 2,000 or maybe even a crowd of 150. The Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. For details, go to GencoFCU.org.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
The Houston football coach Willie Fritz joins us on 365 Sports. And Coach, I was trying to think about, okay, how do you start this? There's a lot of ways, but magic year 2 for you. I know Georgia Southern was about the same between 1 and 2. Is it year 2 is special because you have time to know what you have and what you need to get done?
Yeah, it's different because you know the lay of the land. Your second year and a couple different positions I've taken. I got in there late. It's kind of what happened. U of H, we played an extra game at Tulane, and I was kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit, getting started with it. But this past year, obviously not, and we kind of knew what we had to work with and what we needed to get, as far as freshmen and out of the portal. And, So it just gives you, a lot more knowledge on how you can improve your team.
Coach, last week you're on the road against a tough team at Arizona State. You get a lead, and I think the thing that was really impressive to me watching it was your team kind of collectively knew that there was blood in the water and didn't take it for granted and just kind of kept going and going. Where does that come from in your squad, that they were mature enough to know that and not really let Arizona State come up for air that much?
Well, we've got a mature team. It's kind of, just being here 2 years, you'd think that wouldn't be the case, but we added some seniors that have played a lot of football in a lot of different schools. And, and we coach these guys hard. We get after it during the week. We do a lot of competitive things, and I'm blessed with a very good staff. So everybody knows, what we got to do when it's, cutting time. And I just thought the kids, executed and played with a lot of poise throughout the whole ball game.
What's it been like to coach Connor Wegman? I mean, after going through the approach process and the recruiting and then getting him on campus, but now having, all this action to study and to look back on, what stood out to you about coaching him and just being along with the ride with him?
Well, it's been an awful lot of fun. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but, Connor's dad played for me when I was coaching at Sam Houston State as an assistant back in '91. So there's a little familiarity, between he and I, and Connor. I just heard so many good things about him. Sean Bell, as you all know, Sean was I think he gave Connor his first offer at the Power 4 level, and so they had a very, very good relationship also, and he just wanted to get back to Houston. He wanted to get in a situation where he had an opportunity to kind of play the style of football that's good for him, and which is really dual threat quarterback. He runs it. I've had a bunch of people, they're kind of surprised about how well he runs the ball. But when you went back and watched him in high school and also at his previous school, you saw him do a good job on the ground also. But he's been fun to have. He's an easy guy to coach. He enjoys football, loves football. That's what you're looking for with all your guys, but especially your quarterback.
I noticed last week when I was watching him when he took off, especially on an extended run, his head doesn't move. You hear about track stars that they just have that, like it's putting a needle through their head all the way to the finish line. He doesn't have all this herky jerky, this smooth as silk, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask our track coach Carl Lewis about that. Say, hey, I'll tell him that we taught Connor to do that, but he's got very good speed. He runs about 21 miles an hour on the GPS, and which is excellent speed. So, if he gets out and gets in a foot race, he can go ahead and gain quite a few yards on you. But yeah, he's got good speed, good movement. He knows how to, a big thing with quarterbacks, you're not wanting to run them 50 times a game. We ran him probably more than we wanted to last week, but that was kind of the path to victory. But you got to be able to find creases and holes. We call it C2 split 2 and widen the gap and get your foot in the ground and take glancing blows instead of head-on tacklers. And he does a good job of that.
Yeah, to get me to 21 miles an hour, you'd have to put me roll me down a hill.
A car.
Yeah, a car. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I need to get there. You are, and a lot of coaches say they are and try to be. You have always been a culture first guy. In that before you can change the football, you make sure that everybody's kind of on the same page. How do you see that appreciated in players when you take over a program where it's not just about how can you help me make this team better, it's how can we make us better together before we even start talking about we're going to run this kind of offense, this kind of defense, and these are the plays?
Well, I'm really fortunate that I've got a great staff that thinks the same way that I do as far as relationships with the student athletes. I'm around these guys. I see up there 365 sports, right? I'm around these guys almost 365 days a year. I'm around them. I was just in the cafeteria a little while ago, eating with them, and I go in the weight room with them. obviously out there at practice. I try to sit in as many meetings as I can. And, that's how you build relationships, and that's how you establish culture. That's why I got into the business. And, one of the things I'm probably most proud of is every game that we play, I have we went out and played out at Arizona State, and I had 3 or 4 guys that played for me at different places come to the game. Obviously, when we come back home here at Houston, I have a lot more. But, that's what it's all about. If you get into coaching and that's not important to you, you're in the wrong profession, in my opinion.
Coach, how do you deal with new attention? I mean, you guys are obviously getting a lot more talk now with the record that you've been able to establish, but you also know that could all go away very quickly if you don't handle your business the rest of the way. So is that something you address right now? Do you just kind of let it continue to build outside, or just how do you go about handling people starting to pay attention to the Cougars?
All that is great. I addressed it for a moment when we became bowl eligible. Half the country's not going to be bowl eligible. Not very many people were bowl eligible 2 weeks ago. So proud of that. We're proud of the fact we're ranked now. But I think the secret to success is being consistent with your effort day after day after day after day after day. Some people have a difficult time doing that. I guess I'm simple-minded. That's not difficult for me. Our coaches do a good job of it, and we just want to get better. We're on the climb. We want to be on the ascent. We don't want to be on the descent, and so we're working on that on a daily basis. That's important. We talk about perfection is our goal, but excellence will be tolerated. We want to get better and better and better.
Willie, the offense seems to get better, and yet you've had injuries that you've dealt with on that side of the football. How have you done that?
Well, I think Slade Nagel is doing a fantastic job. I think he's got some great assistants. We've got great assistants here on the offensive side of the ball. These guys are getting, I think, great coaching technique fundamentally. I think they do a great job schematically, seeing what we do. Every week when we staff meet, I talk to him, especially this last week. We're 8 games into the season. What are we doing good? Let's accent that. What are we doing bad? Let's get rid of it. Let's do the things that our guys have shown us that they're good at. And I think Slade does a good job of that, each week and figuring it out early, because every team's a little bit different now. Their presentation to you as far as fronts and coverages and blitzes and all those different kind of things. So, you got to understand what you do well, and then understand what they do well, stay away from that, and see what they don't do quite so well and try to get after that.
Coach, as you navigate through the Big 12 season, I mean, I know that the cliche is one game at a time. Is it a little easier to do that, though, when you have like such little separation between the best team and the worst team in the league, where you don't have to worry about guys maybe going like, oh man, I can't wait till we play these guys, and they're 3 weeks away, when you know that like it's going to be tough every single time you walk out there?
It really is. Obviously those guys don't talk like that around me, because they'd hear about it. But I think this is a really, really, really competitive, balanced league. And I told the guys at the beginning of the year before we started this season, we got to hook it up every single week. I've been in some leagues where maybe we didn't bring our A game and we were able to win. We were just better than the people that we played. But in the Big 12, that's not the case. Everybody's pretty good, and we got to play really, really well in order to have the outcome that we want to have. So I don't think we've got a problem with focusing on the task at hand.
Coach, everybody has the ability to go into the transfer portal and pick guys and add to what they need to add to. But what's the key, do you think, to being successful in the transfer portal and finding the right guys? Or what's been key for you guys to have the guys you went and grabbed playing such vital roles and working out for you?
Well, our whole staff is involved with it. Our personnel, our GM, they all do a great job finding these guys. But that was one of the problems I really kind of had last year, was I got in here so late. To be a great recruiter, you got to be a talent evaluator and you got to be an information gatherer. And we just didn't have the time to gather the information. And we want guys that fit our culture. How we do things here it's not for everybody. I mean, we're on top of these guys academically, how they act off the field, how we practice, all the different things that we do 24/7. I'm very consistent in that, and so are my coaches. And we got to find the right guys. And we did a really nice job of finding excellent young men who buy into what we're doing. This is before this season I'm talking about. I'm talking about the spring, the summer, preseason camp, all those different things. And it's just, it's just fun working with these guys. It's fun coming to work every day when you get to work with good people.
Coach, everyone, maybe not everybody, knows the story about Kurt Hester, whose birthday would have been yesterday. And I know there's a celebration of his life in November. And the emotions of that can obviously wear a team down because of its life, a loss of life, somebody very important who was absolutely an inspiration. How much of an inspiration was he to Houston football?
A huge part of Houston football. He and I were together at Tulane. He was my first hire here. Some people realize and some people don't how much time the strength coach spends with your team. And you got to have a guy that's, echoing your message, but also is a guy that's a tremendous role model and mentor to our student athletes. And hey, just like I was talking about a little while ago, we had so many people that came in and visited him from other places that he coached at, and over the last, I don't know how many months. He was diagnosed in February, and I think they gave him 4 weeks. And, he just kept fighting and fighting and fighting. And he's just a huge part of helping to mold and shape these guys. 18 to 22 years of age is I talk about it all the time. You do a good job between 18 and 22 years of age, academically, off the field, on the field, all those things. You're cooking with grease. You're going to have success. You screw up during that time period. It's sometimes hard to overcome. And Kurt just really preached. And he's also a minister, but he really preached a great message to our guys on a daily basis. And, we're missing him.
We had Michael Bishop on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he mentioned that you were was it junior high PE or elementary school PE teacher?
I was his elementary. When I got done as a graduate assistant at Sam Houston, I couldn't find a college job, so I got a job as an elementary PE teacher, kindergarten, first, second, third grade at Willis, Willis, Texas, and I coached varsity football, basketball, and Michael was kind of one of my students, and another guy was Derek Lagway.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They're the same age, and they're buddies. And anyway, years later, I recruited Michael, and when I was at Blinn, and he sometimes teases me and calls me Mr. Fritz because that's what all the call me.
Yeah. How much of you, though, was formed in those young years? Like, you may find yourself thinking, like, still, I learned so much in that short time as an elementary PE teacher, even though your job is demonstrably different now.
Well, number one, you never, relationships. We talked about how important. I just got done talking about Connor a little while ago.
Yeah.
If his dad thought I was a horse's buddy, Connor wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
And, and if Michael would have thought the same thing, he wouldn't have come over and helped change the program over at Blinn Junior College. So, I've enjoyed every place that I've been. I really have. And I still got a lot of good friends from Willis, that when I coach there, I went back and watched them play a few weeks ago and, saw, some old friends and some people that were actually still working at the school. It's, it was a great time, and I really enjoyed it there, and still have a lot of good friends.
One question for me, and thank you as always, Coach, but the Peach Bowl 10 years ago, I saw the note you put up. Somebody put up that Coach Herman's coming back. Greg Ward, who played at John Tyler High School in the NFL, and, of course, at Houston, known him a long, long time. What is that? Yeah, exactly right. How much does that help bring back showing the success that was there and can be there?
Well, I talk about it all the time. You know, I've taken over some programs that, you know, maybe hadn't had, you know, much success in their past, but you know, Houston has had a lot of success. You know, Coach Sumlin did a great job when he was here. Coach Herman did a fantastic job, and then you got the guy that everybody still talks about around here, Coach Yeoman.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, his son and his granddaughter came on her trip out to Arizona State, you know, a few days back. So yeah, it's great to have those guys come back. I've gotten to know a bunch of those guys, Greg and Tice. I've gotten to know real well. They've you know, been around all the time and do anything I ask of them, and so yeah, it's great to honor those guys. And you know, they had I actually went to the Peach Bowl this last year, and I saw Arizona State play Texas in the game. I was fortunate enough to win Bobby Dodd Award, and they bring people back. And I told you know, our players, if I must have had 20, 30 people when they met me that were with the Peach Bowl. That's our favorite game, when Houston got after Florida State, you know, in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it impacted a lot of people, and we're proud to recognize those guys this weekend.
Thank you very much. As always, continued luck and also continued momentum of what you've built, Coach. We appreciate your time whenever we can get it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Willie Fritz, head coach at the University of Houston in 365 Sports.
0% for 72 months on all 2025 Ram 1500 trucks during the Drive into Fall event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Check out a 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab with a massive $16,000 off, or a 2025 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $12,000 off, and both at 3.9 for 72 months. And if you drive a Ford, Toyota, or GM, get an extra $1,500 bonus cash. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 and up, 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back in. Welcome. If you're just joining us to 365 Sports, cruising on along here. Got an hour or so left in the show, give or take. Still got Kalani Sitake, BYU head coach, right around the corner. Also have some college football picks for our national games of the week, a handful of games to get to. But right now, we stop down for some Big 12 Mojo rankings. As we do each week on a Wednesday show, it is time to break down the conference 1 through 16, or should I say 16 down to 1. As far as the lay of the land, these are my power rankings with the twist of just taking into account anything I possibly can that can separate these teams. But basically, this is like who's hot and who's proven and who's taking care of their business. But there has been a lot of fluctuation because this conference is just it's just messy that way, where it's all over the place. So let's get into this week's edition of the Mojo rankings, all the way in week 10 of the season. And let's get into the bottom 4. Will they change this week? Well, just slightly, it appears that they will change this week as we get into the usual 3 here at the bottom. It is what it is. Oklahoma State, we know the deal. They get absolutely destroyed last weekend, as expected, at the hands of Texas Tech. And it's all about who the next coach will be. And, after some original Zach Robinson rumors, or maybe not even so much rumors of just his name being a hot name to throw out, it does feel like Eric Morris is gaining momentum when I look around. So good news for them is they'll have some great options. But right now, the greatest options are off the field and not on the field. And so Oklahoma State remains at number 16 for the foreseeable future. At number 15, West Virginia stays where they've been the last few weeks as well. It's been tough sledding, although do they have their quarterback now? Young Scotty Fox, is he going to be the answer for Rich Rod moving forward? I don't know, but they're not winning games.
He fits the vibe of the Rich Rod offense. He's athletic and moves around a little bit. I think he's going to dive headfirst, and Rich Rod's going to dive headfirst in the portal and see if he can get a guy too.
Of course, yes. Yeah, you'll have to do that. But yeah, Scotty Fox coming off of that TCU loss, 300 yards. He had not thrown for 100 yards prior to that, but 301 yards and a couple of touchdowns. So that was a spark. That's something to hang on to for the freshman quarterback. But yeah, they're definitely not going to just go, oh yeah, he'll be the guy. They're going to have to go to the portal, much like I'm assuming Texas Tech will now be going to the portal if they weren't planning to do so already, and some others will as well. But yeah, West Virginia with another loss. They stay at 15, and then Colorado, they stay pat at 14. And if it wasn't for the fact that West Virginia and Oklahoma State have kind of entrenched themselves at the bottom spots, then Colorado this would have been a week to just put them at 16 temporarily based on what we saw a week ago. It was that bad. There's just no real answers of substance to be found that's going to turn this thing into a super positive direction. It is what it is at this point with Colorado. They are a fine football team at their best, but mostly they are not at their best, and they've been definitely more bad than good. So they're now 3-5 overall and 1-4 in the Big 12 after that 53-7 loss to Utah. So that Iowa State win, just so random. And without that, then things would really be looking dire for Dion and company. But that at least gave them a couple days of feeling pretty good. But it was right back to the loss column for them after the trip to Salt Lake City. And then UCF. And I'll help explain as I get into the next round, because they just did beat the mess out of West Virginia. But just winning doesn't mean you automatically move up, and that's how it works, because then we would just do standings. Yeah. And that's not the point of this exercise. So UCF, I hate that there's a down arrow, because I don't feel down about them. I feel just fine about them. It's just a matter of the movement ahead of them. So they are down a spot, but I think there is something to like there with Taven Jackson, and I think there's a very real chance they beat Baylor this weekend. And if they do, that would be a huge win for them.
No, and if they do, it'll also be a loss of a head coach.
It will be the loss of Dave Aranda.
By the end of the weekend.
Yeah,
if not already, yeah.
I said in my little column for the 365 Sports newsletter, which drops every Wednesday midday, and it's got a video and an article for every team in the Big 12, straight to your inbox, 365sports.video. You can sign up there. But I said as much because I do the write-up for Baylor each week. And I have not gone out and said they need to do this or they must do this. I'm not doing that, but I did say that if they lose to UCF, then yeah, they've got to fire David Randa. Like, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I don't think they'd have much choice. So UCF fans, don't take this as a negative. I'm actually positive on your football team, but let's get into the next 4 here. And you see a lot of downward movement. Baylor down a couple spots. I just don't like what I see right now from them. It's not good. It's a situation where now you fired your O-line coach out of the blue after some incident at practice. Your Heisman Trophy contending quarterback's not playing well all the time, and in fact has been kind of bad at times. So you can't rely on him.
The last couple of weeks.
The last couple of weeks, yes. And if you can't rely on him, then what can you rely on with this football team? Not the defense. Not the skill guys. I mean, they have very talented guys, but they got to have somebody to get it to them, right? And they don't have a run game that can just self-produce. So it's not fun right now in Dave Aranda land. And yeah, I think this is a must-win for them this weekend. Kansas also dropping a couple of spots, and I think you could make the case that maybe KU's better than Arizona, or maybe that they are. I don't know. Maybe they're just straight up. They're better than an Arizona. But when you go get beat by your arch rival like that at your home field, when everybody knows the stakes and how long it's been since you last beat them, you're going to get dinged a couple of spots for that. So KU drops a couple. Arizona, I didn't realize they moved up 3 here. I'm not, again, super high on them. And I think that the deal that I ran into here was I couldn't keep them. Maybe I should have kept the UCF, but I didn't think UCF ahead of Baylor. That'll get decided this weekend. I'm not putting them ahead of Kansas. So for Arizona, kind of a byproduct of just everything that happened around them, basically. And I do think that they are actually a pretty good team. And you look at their schedule, they got Colorado coming up, but when we've last seen them these past couple of weeks, a 3-point loss on the road at Houston. So they were right there. And the week prior to that, a double overtime loss in a game they probably could have, should have won against BYU. So they are right there and they are close. They're at least being competitive, whereas a lot of these teams that dropped below them were not competitive. Cincy beat up Baylor, and then it looked better on the scoreboard at the end than it actually was. Kansas got drubbed. And as I mentioned, UCF's just kind of in no man's land right now, where I'm not sold on moving them up spots. But if they go beat Baylor this weekend, then they will certainly be sitting there with a green arrow next to their name next week. And then Iowa State down another spot to number 9. I mean, they're struggling right now. There's no other way to put it. And last week, very competitive first half, but they just threw up all over themselves against BYU in the second half. I mean, I watched every single second of that, and I'm so glad I wasn't an Iowa State fan, because I would have had no hair left watching some of the blunders and mistakes and the missed opportunities. But Iowa State, from the rock solid number 1 basically to now all the way to number 9 in the power rankings this week.
Yeah, Arizona, there's always going to be, when you
the only thing going south faster is the LSU AD, but
we probably don't have enough time to talk about that today, but we're definitely talking about it early on in the show tomorrow. It's crazy what's going on there, and LSU fans should be terrified. But Arizona, like, whenever you do lists like this, like every time I do a mock draft, when I'm trying to do one of those in when it comes to draft season, if I start like trading things around, you start like, oh, this is a good trade for them.
Dude,
you get to a point where you kind of just get stuck on like, oh, well, I got to put this here because now I've gone here. So it's fine to have a team that might jump up a little bit just because like they didn't do anything horrible.
Like, they didn't even play.
Yeah, exactly. So
they just didn't get affected.
They didn't get affected. Kansas dropping should drop. Like, that was
deserved,
an embarrassing loss. Baylor is an embarrassing loss. Iowa State is it's not it's not embarrassing to lose to Cincinnati or to BYU. It is embarrassing to do it in the fashion that you did.
It's embarrassing to squeeze a loss to Colorado in between those games that you just mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's 3 straight losses for them now.
Yeah.
They've lost 3 straight.
Yeah. And they looked dominant early in the year.
Yeah.
And
so are we saying that Arizona is almost like gravity the other direction because everybody else is going south?
Yeah, I mean, they were rewarded based on basically just not being in action. And I think that this group right here, especially the second half, that second 4 from the bottom, they kind of float around anyways. There's not a lot that separates them. but this was more about, I think, deducting points from Kansas and Baylor based on results, and I couldn't put UCF above them.
No.
And I couldn't put them, like, I wouldn't have felt good putting UCF at 11, right? So it's like Paul said, of like, it can't be perfect. Like, so every week I always feel like there's one team that I'm like, that's not quite where I would want it to be, but I don't know where else to put it, right? So that's kind of Arizona this week for me. And each week there is a team like that. So, yeah, that's who they are for week number 10. But I did say they've played competitive games against two of the better teams in the league. So I don't know that they deserve to jump up 3, but this was not about them as much as it was about the others. So now to the top half of the listing here, and here comes Kansas State. And that's part of the reason that you had like a UCF drop even a spot, was because Kansas State is starting to surge. And I don't know how high they're going to end up, but I definitely feel like they've got their mojo back, and to go and just kick the tail of your arch rival for the 17th straight season is impressive stuff. That's now back-to-back wins because they beat TCU prior to that. So after getting off to a really rough start, it seems like things are starting to progress well. And to the point where that game against Texas Tech in Manhattan is pretty interesting, especially with the Will Hammond news. I think this
you know who's like nervous is Kim Coulter.
I bet he is.
Ultimate
He
Tech.
should be.
He's been worried about this one, even when K-State was kind of floundering. He's puckered up right now.
They've got their number.
Yeah.
K-State used to
that note from Ari. I didn't know that.
They used to have Texas' number. Remember, no matter how good Texas was, they'd even if they won the game, it was the game where nobody played well. Like it was just it was the bad game. That they have since transferred whatever remaining energy they had apparently into Tech now, even though it's been going a long time when Texas was still in the league. But Kansas State seems to. There's a couple teams down in Texas. They just kind of like to come and ruin their year.
Well, they are up to number 8, so that's part of the surge and kind of putting the second half of the list in a little bit of a spot where how do I move these teams? And it's to give credit to Kansas State in part. Now, I'm not trying to go too crazy, but that is back-to-back wins. They're 500 now in the Big 12, and they do have Texas Tech, so a huge opportunity this weekend. After that, they got Oklahoma State on the road, so that'll likely be a win, but they still got to go to Salt Lake City, and then they close with Colorado. So very curious about K-State here down the stretch. Meanwhile, Arizona State drops a few spots, and I still think they're a good team. There's just too much uncertainty going on right now with them. I mean, Sam Levitt's half healthy at best. Jordan Tyson's half healthy at best. And you've eaten a couple of losses in Big 12 play, so you're technically still in okay shape, but you're almost eliminated from the title picture at this point with a month left to play because you've got 2 losses, and there's 2 teams who don't have losses yet in Cincinnati and BYU. So you're in a mixture of teams like we're going to get to, Tech and Houston and so on, that you're all even with them, but then how do the tiebreakers work, right? So Arizona State, just these injuries, man, have really plagued them. I think that at full strength, obviously, they're arguably like a top 3 team in the league, but you still got to win games, and part of the mojo is kind of the spirit around the team. And so after losing to Houston, I think that took a lot more wind out of their sails. That's 2 of their last 3 they've dropped, but they did have that big win over Texas Tech.
And their schedule, with all due respect, at Iowa State might be too much for them right now without Levitt, but the schedule does open up for them a little bit.
It does. Like I think they can close. I think they'll close 3-0 down the stretch if Levitt is healthy. But yeah, going to Ames this weekend, you don't feel great about it because Levitt's hurt again, and Jordan Tyson's hurt again, and if you don't have those guys, you still have some talent, but not nearly what you used to be. Utah up a spot. I mean, think self-explanatory. They handled their business last week against Oklahoma State. I'm not going to reward them too heavily for that, but they did handle their business, and they looked really good doing so, and they are very much in the mix. Like, they lost that BYU game, and it felt like maybe the sky was falling to some extent, but they've lost to the 2 best teams in the league. They lost to Texas Tech in Lubbock, and they lost to BYU in Provo.
Yeah.
Those are their 2 losses. So I take that into consideration heavily, and they are top 5 for that reason.
Okay, who lost to Texas Tech and Lubbock?
Or not? Sorry, they were in Salt Lake City.
But they did lose that BYU.
But their losses are Tech and BYU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think there's a good chance that Utah could just stay here at 5 for the rest of the season.
Could be, yeah.
I mean, because they're good. They're not great, but they're really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not a team that I would be afraid is going to make a deep run in anything, but I don't want to play him in a bowl game. So, yeah,
the chat room is like anticipating the next one. They're trying to pick these along the way, so we're about to show them. But Utah's solid, but
I'm not like they're not a playoff team solid, but they are.
Yeah,
they'll mess you up solid.
Yeah,
they'll mess you up.
All right, so let's see who was right in the chat. Who is number 4 through number 1?
Oh, somebody did say Houston. Who said Houston? Somebody said Houston would be 4. Juan.
Yeah, I'm sure it's Juan.
Shout out to Juan.
No, I don't
know.
Even
looking.
But Houston at number 4.
Said Houston.
Houston at number 4. They jump up a spot. I mean, look, man, they are 7-1. They've won 3 straight games. They just went into Tempe and beat a somewhat less than full strength Arizona State team, to be sure, but I don't care. That was impressive for them to go out and really get out to a nice early lead to give themselves that room there at the end where Arizona State starts mounting their comeback and they're able to fend it off because in part of what they built up early in that game. But the defense is really good. Connor Wegman's a huge breath of fresh air. And I'm starting to just really enjoy this story for them. And you know what? They got a great draw scheduling wise. Like they have definitely benefited from the draw scheduling wise, but I did not ever anticipate them to be sitting here in week number 10 with 1 loss. And yet that's where we are at the Houston Cougars right now. I still have them at 4 because I don't take them head to head against any of these other 3 teams.
Texas Tech beat the hell out of them.
And Texas Tech beat the hell out of them. So Texas Tech up a spot to number 3. You do have the injury concerns, obviously. Maybe they're the best pound-for-pound team. Maybe they're the second best. But for right now, as I'll explain with Cincinnati, Tech is moving back up, but just by a spot here. At number 2, Cincinnati, staying pat where they are. You can't ding a program that's won 7 straight games. They went and handled their business against Baylor with little to no trouble whatsoever. I'm not convinced they're the second-best team in the league, but that's where they find themselves as one of the only 2 unbeatens in the Big 12 right now. So you're one of only 2 unbeatens in the league, and we're this far into it. You're going to be one of the 2 teams at the very top of this list. And so Cincinnati's there at number 2, and obviously a huge test upcoming for them this weekend. You know, if they go and beat Utah, man, then start the promotions, rev them up. Like, let's get Satterfield Coach of the Year stuff going. Let's get Sorsby Heisman talk going. Like, let's rev that. Let's rev it all up. But that's going to be a tough challenge and a hell of a game. So Cincy at 2, and then BYU, the easy choice at number 1. They're unbeaten on the year, unbeaten in Big 12 play. I think they look like the best all-around team, special teams, offense, defense. And the big question you had about the quarterback has been answered time and time again this year where, by the way, prepare for Bear Bachmeier to run up the middle. And it doesn't matter if it's 2nd and 2 or if it's 2nd and 27. He'll pick up 28 yards for the first down. Even if you know it's coming, it's unreal that he's just
he's a genie.
I mean, in some ways, and it's like, and you go like, I know what's coming, and it doesn't matter because they block it so well, and he just slips through. But they are really good, man. LJ Martin's really good. Chase Roberts, Parker Kingston, and then that defense. I mean, we were talking a bit about some of them earlier, but Jack Kelly and company, great secondary. I mean, they're just a really good football team. I think they are, besides Tech at full strength, the team that can really go and make the most noise, taking on some of the other names that you might in the postseason. So BYU number 1, I don't think that comes as a surprise, but if Cincinnati rolls into Salt Lake, then that's going to be a much more interesting debate to have next week.
And there's games this week, obviously, not to look ahead, but you have that BYU Texas Tech collision course. Texas Tech has to worry about K-State. BYU having the off week too, right before that game. And as we have with Kalani Sitake coming up, he talks about that. Yeah.
They both have 2 weeks to prepare for this.
Yeah.
So that ought to be a hell of a game in Lubbock next week. We talked to Kalani Sitake about it, as y'all will hear. But there you go. I think BYU right now, just a slight edge over Cincinnati. The bottom is kind of unchanged just because those teams keep losing, and it is what it is. But the middle, week to week, it's the Big 12. It could be all over the place, and if you expect anything less, then you haven't been following the league long enough.
Texas Tech plays in Manhattan this week, right?
Oh yeah. Sorry.
No,
yeah.
And that's so they got that, and
I don't know how I just blanked on that when we were just talking about that 30 seconds prior, really. But yeah, BYU's got the bye week, so they have 2 weeks to prepare. I don't know why I had in my head that Tech did, but yeah, Tech Tech and Kansas State is a very interesting game that about 2-3 weeks ago you didn't really probably give a ton of thought to, even though Kim and people who have followed K-State long enough, even when they were struggling, you're probably like, yeah, we still got to go there, though. Like, that's
Kim hasn't slept ever since the schedule.
That's problematic, but now, especially with the way they've looked the past couple of games, they are improved. So, yeah, there's a big game in Manhattan this week that can really turn this thing on its head. And then Arizona State, Iowa State, I think is another interesting game, although with ASU at less than full strength, it kind of takes some of the air out of those sails. But Cincy, Utah is the cherry on top of the weekend. That is the game. That is the college game day game. That is the night game in Salt Lake. That is the one that we'll all be staying up late to watch on Saturday night. And somebody will, I mean, in Utah's case, either make a couple moves up, or in Cincinnati's case, start to fight for number one if they win that game.
So every week we got to look at how many green arrows and how many red ones. Do they match? They don't have to, right?
I don't think
5 green arrows and 5 red ones. Maybe they do. If you go up, you got to have somebody that goes down. I don't know. All right. And so a lot of you enjoyed that. And remember now, it's not win-loss records, although some head-to-head could matter. Like, for example, Texas Tech, Houston 3-4, since they went into Houston and pummeled the Cougars. But it's the mojo, the feel around the program and all of that.
So, for example,
there we are.
Baylor's football team is not very good, so they're getting dinged for that. They also, in comparison to an Arizona, and this is also kind of part of it, Arizona, unlike Baylor, is not sitting there talking about firing their head coach currently. They were last year, but not as much right now. So you take into account things like that, and that affects your mojo when you got head coaches that are on the verge of being fired or what have you. So that's what I also take into consideration, along with some other things. But yes, wins and losses are what matter most.
All right, so we're going to pivot here. We do have Kalani Sitake, head coach at BYU, coming up. Craig, thank you. I love the segment. Look forward to it. I know that people in the chat were going absolutely crazy over who's
It's my
next.
favorite one all week.
Yeah.
It really is. I love it.
It's favored than the one I do, the segment I host.
I mean, no offense, buddy, but yeah.
I don't have one.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing, not to set unreasonable goals for you.
Yeah.
But you would have to really come with the thunder.
I think I'd call it crazy uncle. That's what that's what.
Yeah.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the college football picks to 5 games each week. We're going to move that to tomorrow. And tomorrow's busy. We'll have TCU quarterback Josh Hoover, among others. And we're going to do the Kalani Sitake interview in just a moment. But we have to do this, though, Garrett and Brandon and Andrew. LSU, as you know, fired Brian Kelly.
What?
And the governor of Louisiana Mr. Landry, is taking over the search, basically. And am I right? I know he blasted Woodward.
He's not fired him officially yet, from what I can tell.
It just sounds. If I'm Scott Woodward, I walk out.
He might as well look. If he's not going to let him hire a coach, then you just need to go ahead and fire him.
Yeah, I don't think you actually said it in full. So the Louisiana governor, Jeff Landry, has let it be known now publicly that Scott Woodward, the AD, who everybody was raking over the coals for these insane buyouts, the last 2 coaches they hired. Everybody's like, and we even asked our various reporters, like, are they going to let this guy go hire the next coach too after all this, buyout mess? And it seemed like a bad idea. Well, now we know that no, Scott Woodward will not be going and being the guy to hire the next head coach, because Governor Jeff Landry says he won't be. We are not going down a failed path, is what he said during a meeting with media today.
He basically threw Jimmy Sexton under the bus a little bit too, didn't he?
First of all, he was he said Jimbo Fisher, and he was kind of misinformed. Jimbo Fisher and Brian Kelly don't have the same agent. One has Trace Armstrong, one has Jimmy Sexton.
Right.
But
both of them are
both of them are the same. I mean, they do the same things. Look, and we rightfully called out on this show Scott Woodward, but also the addition of Ross Bjork, who threw the extra money on. But I saw Robert Behrens on Twitter just now put it that, yes, Ross Bjork did make that offer to Jimbo and added in there. But do you remember why he did that? Because Scott Woodward was trying to hire Jimbo at LSU.
Right.
So Scott Woodward really directly and indirectly led to Jimbo's massive extension in so many ways. Now, look, if you don't want Scott Woodward to make the hire, that's fine. You got to hire another athletic director and let them do it. But saying the board of supervisors is going to do it, which is shorthand for saying that Jeff Landry is going to do this because he's the de facto president of the school right now, is really bad news, because Jeff Landry doesn't know anything about hiring a football coach.
Well, that's
I'm not even going to get into the you can think about him as a governor if you're in Louisiana, however you want to do, because you're the people who have to vote for him. But I can tell you this is also one of the most bold political swings I've ever seen someone take, in that, look, Louisiana is a dyed-in-the-wool red state that Republicans can win in spite of they can do a lot of things
in spite of them.
In spite of,
they're going to win no matter what. Like in other states, others continue to win.
Exactly.
Too.
You're going to win if you're a Democrat in California most of the time.
Right.
It doesn't really matter how bad or good you are because of the way that the political machine works. But if he screws this up, and likely will because he doesn't know what he's doing, then guess what? All of the, rhetoric BS that you throw out there about whatever issues that you feel on, they're not going to care. They'll find another Republican who didn't F up the LSU hire.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, though, he's not the guy making this whole decision. The only thing that came out today is that he is in charge of forming the committee to then go and hire the head coach.
Yeah.
So I think it's being taken as though he's like, they're not going to hire him. I'm going to hire him. And technically, I guess he is, because he's going to be in charge of putting the people together that form the group that then will decide who hires the head coach.
And who has the final say on it?
I mean, he does, but I'm just saying it's not completely direct. Like he's operating by his lonesome. And
now he has, and what that creates is a buffer zone
Right.
of these people told me to hire this guy.
Of course.
And
That's why he's a politician and successful.
And I believe them. But even still, I don't think that sports fans won't buy that because it's just like the owner going like, well, the GM hired that
Here's
coach.
the best part of what he said. They're going to have a committee.
Yeah, so that's also what stood out to me. Is great, a committee.
All right.
Well,
so
I mean, he
is
at least putting his political career on the line with this move, because if it is a big blow up in your face type of hiring, then the voters, I'm sure, will let him know when the time comes, because they care nothing more than LSU football.
Would you like to know who I think the number one candidate is and who will likely get the job now?
I mean, sure.
Okay, it's John Gruden. And I'll tell you why. Jeff Landry mentioned Donald Trump twice in his remarks today. Donald Trump is very good friends with John Gruden. They went golfing. They talk now. And if I'm John Gruden, I'm calling my golf buddy and saying, like, hey, buddy, I want that LSU job.
I think that I get what you're saying. You're right. There's
dots you can connect for sure.
That if I'm an LSU fan and that happens, I will. Okay.
I would lose my ever-loving mind if I was an LSU fan, and that's how the coaching search was decided. Now, I don't think it's definitely not the craziest thing I've ever heard, and there's some connections that make sense. My reaction to Gruden is I'm just not sold on him being like some guy who's going to roll in and be a successful college coach. I don't care if it's in Baton Rouge or in freaking Tuscaloosa. I mean, I get why he's got a great following. He's very popular, but I've just never been enamored with Chucky, like the coach. I think he's a great analyst, and I think he's a good football coach, but that wouldn't do anything for me.
He's a personality now.
He's a personality, yes. Yeah. And I don't necessarily, I'm not trying to just hire a personality and a guy who hasn't coached in several years. So that would do nothing for me. Okay. I mean, it would be a splash, but the splash then settles back into whatever it was anyways.
Right.
But again, like, here's the thing he mentioned. He's mad about buyouts. He's mad about agents. He's mad about all these things. He's the one who makes the deal. Guess what? If John Gruden really wants to get back in the SEC and get the LSU job, he can kind of acquiesce on some of those things and still come out ahead.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
We'll
right
see
now,
if he decides to do that.
The top bet online, Sumrall is a plus 150. Brady
for every job in the Southeast.
Yeah. Lane Kiffin 4-1, Franklin 6-1, and Eli Drinkwitz at 8-1. There's others, including Brom, Key, Fisher, Clark Lee, etc.
Right on the top five, just the top five.
John Sumrall, Tulane, is 3-2 odds, plus 150. Joe Brady, 2-1 odds.
Joe Brady, yeah, he's been
former offensive coordinator.
How would you feel about Joe Brady, Garrett? Would that excite you in any way?
I mean, I would be intrigued. I would take Joe Brady over Gruden any day of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I feel like he kind of understands it. He's young. He had success, but I don't know that I trust him to run a full organization yet. Like, I'd rather see him be a head coach at a G6 and work his way up than just saying, I'm going to start my first head coaching career at like LSU.
When was the last time you heard the name Joe Brady after he left LSU and got a job with Matt Rule?
Well, been hearing about him
with him. I mean, he's got the Bills rolling.
Yeah, he's freaking in the Bills booth every week coaching up Josh Allen. So I've heard about him plenty. But yeah, the Panthers thing was very forgettable for everybody involved,
including the owner who put up one of those.
Well, he's the only one that's still around at this point and looks dumber by the day. So, I mean, shows you that rich people don't know everything. That's, if you want an example, here's David Tepper. He can make billions of dollars doing one thing, but he cannot run an NFL franchise to save his life. So
because he hired him, not the GM. That's like Jerry.
So Joe Brady, who was 3-4-5.
Say John Summerall, Joe Brady,
I know that,
Lane Kiffin, James Franklin, and Eli Drinkwitz.
So Gruden's not even a top 5 on that
Gruden's
list,
like about 12 or 14 or something.
Garrett, who do you want?
I would like John Summerall, honestly. I really would. I know you're right. Like he's the main guy for everybody, but I think he's the perfect fit. He's 90 miles away.
All right, so
let's do that.
We need to watch the bet online and how the odds change now that Paul brought up what he did, the connections with Landry and the president and all this other stuff that might go down. I'd love Clark Lee or even Brent Key, and I'd be fine with it.
I'll throw this out there. If I am any kind of coach of note, and I know that the governor and some committee is going to do this, and they've essentially neutered the athletic director, I think I'm taking my name out of the LSU search.
Do you know who knows? Kim.
Yeah.
All right. So when we come back, Kalani, Sitake, and BYU are number 1 in the Mojo rankings, but also undefeated. And what a run it's been again. That's next. He's next. Kalani Sitake on 365 Sports. The great friends of the show and BYU football coach Kalani Sitake with us on 365 Sports. Thanks for your time. We really do appreciate it. How much did you need this off week and then the stretch drive at the end of the year?
Oh, yeah. I think it comes at the right time. And, we play a violent game, and so injuries happen, and guys aren't at 100%. But this is a good way for us to kind of recharge physically, but also mentally, just getting – it's a lot of travel, but also a lot of stress. And, these guys have been through a lot of – I think we still have to work, but it'll be refreshing not having to play a game this weekend. But we're going to take advantage of the time that we have to get ready for Texas Tech and get ready for this last 4 in the regular season.
If you had to make a pie chart of the Bear Bachmeier story from – you guys having a situation where he was available to you in the spring portal because of the situation at Stanford, which, again, it was fortuitous in that he was available. Then you have a situation that you did not expect with your starting quarterback to now. How much of it is luck? How much of it is preparation? How much of it is your staff and Bear Bachmeier? Because this is a great story and so many things had to coalesce for it to happen for you.
Yeah, I think everything has a piece of that. I mean, there's so many variables that go into it. For example, having a great relationship with him in the recruiting process when he was in high school, and not just with him, but also with his brothers, with Tiger and with Hank, and making sure that we in the recruiting process that we show what we're about, and that when they make their decision, we're actually okay with it, and we wish them the best. Then for it to return in our favor, and then combine that with a great coaching staff that knows how to mentor young men, especially at the quarterback position, and get them ready for the season. And then to do it in such a short amount of time, and then to have a culture and a competition where it's true competition, and we just play the best ones. I mean, I don't know any other way. That's how we do it here. And so if you're a person that's willing to do all those things and just trust us in the whole process, you'll find yourself with some success. And then you combine that with the fact that Bear has had an amazing upbringing and understands the game of football, is super intelligent. And then you look at the fact that he's always trying to get better every day and every rep. You combine all those factors that go into it, and then here we sit, and I feel really good about it. I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch of them, a bunch of other variables that go into it, but that's what makes college football so amazing.
Coach, with you guys having the success that you're having, do you have to kind of change the way you talk to the guys in any way, or is it all about keeping it the same at all times? Like, hey, there's more attention now. There's more spotlight on our games. Do you have to address that, or are the guys kind of already knowing what's to come and what to expect?
No, I think you have to have some foundational things that you your values and the things that you live for. But obviously things change, so I have to adapt the message too. And but the things that have always been constant for us is that we're going to stay humble, we're going to stay hungry, we're going to work really hard, and we can count on those things with our energy and effort. Stay positive in all of it, and so. But then also to enjoy it and have fun. I mean, that's a big part of our teaching as well. But for me, it's more about keeping them reminded on what got them there. You know, when we were first starting, no one thought we'd be here except for us. And so let's not worry about the external factors that come into it, or even opinions, whether they're praising you or criticizing you. Let's go back to proving ourselves right, and let's focus on 1 week at a time and 1 day at a time.
Kalani, it's not unusual for former players to come back and be at a game, home or road, but to be there to try to kind of like encourage and enjoy the atmosphere. And Tyler Batty, who we got a chance to meet at Pro Day, who's phenomenal. He could lead any company he wanted to, or his own company, that he was there in Ames. And it's leadership. And now you've got Tanner Wall, Chase Roberts, Jack Kelly among the young freshmen in Bear Bachmeier. How do you go about developing leadership?
Well, I mean, that's kind of, I could probably answer that in a long message. But the truth is, they're great young men. We knew about them when they were coming into this program. And part of the leadership is that you have men that are willing to lead, but you have to have people that are willing to follow too. So it takes humility from these young men to understand where they're coming from. And the honest truth is they're good young men from the beginning. And when they joined this group and they joined the brotherhood that we have, and see the mentoring that they have from the older guys, they kind of worked within the system. And it's not just that the upperclassmen are the leaders. Everyone should be a leader in our program. And the thing that matters the most is the truth. So whether it's a freshman walk-on player that's here, that's way down sixth on the depth chart, or if it's the starting quarterback, if what they say is true, then we abide by it. And then that we don't judge the person giving the message. We actually listen to the message, the truthfulness of it all. And when we do that, it all works out. And so we're all committed to doing what's right over what's comfortable, and then finding ways to be a leader. And sometimes I look at a guy like LJ Martin, who super shy when he first got here, doesn't speak very often, but when he would choose rather to lead by example. But you have to give him time and opportunities to speak. You guys saw him in media day this summer. He was amazing. And so all he needed was someone to encourage him to speak up, and that people are counting on him to do that. And there's different ways to bring the leaders out, but you have to have young men that are humble and willing and able to do it.
Coach, you play a rivalry game, which is one of the most intense rivalries in all of college football. Then you have to go on the road to a place that's not easy to play, and you fell behind. What does it say about the maturity of your team that even though that it looked early on that you're going to have that post-rivalry game letdown that so many teams have, that they were able to pause, take a deep breath, and put that first part of the game behind them and then just charge straight forward?
Well, I mean, I think the game is there's 60 minutes in it that you're allowed to play with, you know. So I think if it were judged on only 10 minutes or 15 minutes of it, a lot of people would quit. And so the key is that if it doesn't go your way at the beginning, first of all, give a lot of respect and to Iowa State for what they did and how prepared they were to play us. We needed to figure out what we were doing wrong. And you have to give them credit for what they were doing right. But what can we do ourselves to put ourselves in a better position? You might be able to be in the right position and doing everything right, and the other team just gets the best of you. That happens. But at least you know what the problems are. The key was for us to assess what were the issues and where can we fix them right away, and what adjustments do we have to do to make to get us in a better position. And we did that, and we utilized the time to get us there, you know, and eventually we ended up finding ourselves with a victory. But overall, we have to have guys that are believe in the process and believe in our ability to do whatever it takes within that 60 minutes to get us in a position to hopefully gain a victory. But that you should not panic. You know, if something happens on the first play of the game is what happened. We gave up a touchdown. There's a lot more plays to go, so you can make up for even the mistakes later on. And so we have the belief that you can do that, but also to enjoy it. I mean, this is an awesome game. It's a lot of fun. I want them to enjoy every part of it. It doesn't mean that the end result should be all that you think about. You think about the journey and to the hard work that it took to get you there, you might as well enjoy the seconds that you're given in those plays.
You have one of the great fan bases in college football. I think in this short amount of time, Big 12 fans have learned just how special Provo can be as a home field. But you've also gone on the road, and like last week, a very tough place to play. You win in Ames. You're now going to go to arguably, a place that's kind of on par with Provo as far as the toughest places to play in Lubbock. I was wondering, seeing your home crowds and the spectacles there, but also seeing how you guys travel, how often do you maybe still pinch yourself, or do you look around when you get a moment and are kind of taken aback by the support that you guys have surrounding you?
Oh yeah, every day and every game, have a lot of just appreciation and gratitude and love for our fans. They're amazing, and they show up at home and they show up on the road as much as they can with the tickets that are available. We know we have support that's out there throughout the world, and we feel it. Our players feel it, and they thrive on it. So I hope they know how much we appreciate and love them. But at the same time, it's really fun to go out and see the other fan bases in the Big 12 conference. And we had a lot of fun out there in Ames. And, it's fun when you win, but it's also a really cool experience for our guys to go into these venues with amazing fans that love their team so much, and then try to find a way to find victory in there. That's the joy in the entire process, the entire game.
So you guys are not going to probably see many tortillas. I don't know if you've been watching the news here lately when you go to Lubbock, but do you get tips when you're going to a place? Do you have any kind of knowledge of what it's like to play in Lubbock? Kind of how do you prepare for something like that?
Oh yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think we have a connection to Lubbock because of Coach Leach, and Mike Leach was, he's an BYU guy. And so we always followed him and his staff and people that were there. So we kind of, if you're a BYU fan, you kind of follow the people that are BYU, whether that's even Steve Sarkisian or Andy Reid. We have a very passionate and faithful fan base. So if you go somewhere, they're going to still support you as much as they can. And so, yeah, we've been able to watch and see the success that comes through Texas Tech and the passion that they have. And we've seen the tortillas flying around, and that's pretty cool, man. I think there's some really cool traditions in college football. I'm looking forward to this matchup in Lubbock. I think the world of Joey McGuire is my guy. I mean, we've broken bread together and hung out and talked. And you talk about a culture builder. That's what he is, and it's amazing to see what he is able to do in the coaching profession at this level. But he does it naturally and normally as a father and as a husband. And I admire that man so much. And so it's going to be a lot of fun when we take this field. He's got an amazing team. We're looking forward to the extra time that we get to prepare for them, and looking forward to the trip when we get out there in Lubbock.
Did you ever have a moment during your coaching career, either as an assistant or whatever, and then a head coach, where you felt like maybe it wasn't what you wanted to do, or was this always kind of in your DNA?
Oh, I wanted to coach from when I had an amazing example with Lavelle Edwards,
sure,
and that whole coaching staff. And so when I didn't know what level I was going to ever even get a chance to coach. I just knew I wanted to be involved in the game somehow. And things just worked out. Really fortunate for me that I got to where I'm at, because a lot of people worked hard to get me here. And so I don't want to waste any of their time or take anything for granted. So no, this is a dream to me. Nobody wake me up. I've been having so much fun in every second of this.
What do you think now when you see what's happening, the volatility? And coaches are always like under the gun, but the volatility this year, Kalani, has been worse than or more than ever before. Your thoughts about what you see around the landscape?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult when you see coaches losing jobs in the middle of the season. And my thought goes straight to those seniors on those teams. And those are the guys that gave the most to the program. And so I feel for them and hope that they can find some joy and some excitement even in their last year of football. Not every one of them is going to be guaranteed an opportunity to play at the next level. So I hope they can just make the most out of it, and hope the fans that are at those schools can love those seniors up, because they're going to need them. But they're the ones that actually put all the blood, sweat, and tears into that program for so many years. And so for them to go out this way, I think it's sad. But it's a tough profession. I'm as a coach, I'm really thankful that BYU's been patient with me, and I hope that other schools can be patient with their coaches and allow them to build their culture and allow them to be mentors to these young men. When it's all said and done, I know we focus on football, but these young men still need to get degrees, and they still need to receive education, and not all of it is just straight for the football field.
Coach, you have some good alignment at BYU, which not every school has. Like some schools don't have a president and they're waiting to figure that out. And then that puts the AD in flux. And then the coaching staff is, even if things are going well, you're always probably going like, well, I hope they hire somebody that likes sports. Like, you can't control. At BYU, you guys have a nice spine, even with an athletic director retiring and Tom Holmoe, who was fantastic and one of the best in the business. How much does that give you and your staff peace that that you guys are aligned in the mission of the university, the mission of the student athletes, and trying to win football games?
Yeah, I think it's the key for me as the head football coach is to make sure that our mission on our football team is aligned with the mission of our president's mission, for the school and the university, and also aligned with our affiliation with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so all that being said, that's my duty and my job to make sure that we're in alignment. And if we do that, then we can find some really exciting moments and make some unbelievable memories. I mean, I'm thankful that I've been able to be here with President Worthen when I first got the job, and now with President Reese. And they've been such a great support, not just to football, but to everything that BYU is able to do for the student athletes and also for the students altogether. And so it's an honor for me to be part with this university and in this role. And I mean, it's a lot of fun, especially when we have a president that actually, does some crowd surfing. That makes me feel a lot more confident and excited when I look up and our president's crowd surfing through the crowd. I'm a little jealous that he gets to do that, but normally we see Cosmo doing that. It's really cool that the president gets to do that too. And I think most presidents should try it next time their fans storm the field. I think it's a requirement that every president should crowd surf.
Yeah, no, right there with you. I'm back in that campaign for sure, Coach. We like to also ask you just big picture kind of industry questions as well. I know you're locked in on your team, but there's just been carnage as far as head coaching jobs over the last few weeks. When you look out and you see double-digit jobs open and guys who have been successful, but it's just kind of the nature of the beast right now. Just kind of what do you think, looking at the industry, looking at the coaching profession in college football right now, and just kind of how everything seems to be working?
Yeah, well, it's hard for me to speak for everyone. I mean, I think I said in my piece about I think about the student athletes. I think about the seniors specifically on those teams. And my thoughts and hopes are that they get the most and make the most out of the time that they have left in their senior year. But, college football is exciting. It's when you get to the game of it all and the festivities of the pregame to the game day and the energy that goes around it. I mean, there's a reason why it's the best sport in the world. And I'm just thankful to be part of it. And so as we start working through these things, we can overcome a lot of the, if people have complaints about it, we can overcome anything as long as we're willing to honor the game and respect the game as much as we can. And a lot of that is respecting the people that are involved with it and respecting even your opponents.
A couple of more questions, a little bit away from football. What former player, I heard the story about a former player that helped you Halloween night and you had a line all the way down the block. Who's going to come to the Kalani Sitake house and give away candy? Well,
that was Taysom Hill. Taysom was on a bye. And when he was in the NFL, I think he was with the Saints, and he had a bye and just stopped by and was in town and just wanted to say hi and came through on Halloween night. And, I was busy I think I was trying to take care of my own costume, but, I'll blame it on the kids. But, yeah, Taysom was there. I was like, Taysom, go out there and hand out some candy for me. And he did it, and we had a long line. And I think the kids next year expected him to be there again, but I'm going to tell the kids, listen, at our home, you're going to get candy, a lot of it, right? Mm-hmm. I can't promise an NFL player being there. Fred Warner, Puka Nacua, those guys aren't showing up. But we will have candy for you. So I love you guys and trick or treat. Let's go.
Okay. Well, Coach, in the spirit of Halloween now, I made this with ChatGPT today for you. Based on the story you told us before about
you could get a bigger photo than that.
Yeah. But listen, blame the robot. But I would love to see you dressed as a wrestler for Halloween. I think you could just rotate different guys every year and pull it off easily.
I could do that. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big wrestling fan. So yeah, I don't know if my Stone Cold Steve Austin look would work, or
I think it would.
If I can do the Rock eyebrow, the people's eyebrow and elbow, but I could think of some things. I'm probably with that look, and I should probably be something more like Earthquake and all that. Nothing cool like the Undertaker. So yeah, I'm down for all of it, and in Halloween, I'm just looking forward to seeing all the kids smiling on their faces.
Sorry about that. The last thing, I read a note about how when you meet somebody, you give them a hug. No matter if you knew them or not, you are like very much want to know about not just meeting somebody, but a little bit about their life story. Are you also someone that's a softie when it comes to kids' pictures, baby pictures as well?
Oh yeah, I mean I could spend as much time as possible talking about kids and seeing. I mean, what's more contagious than the child laughing?
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. When you hear that, you can't help but smile, and so I mean we can just take time to just to make kids happier in life. Then, man, this world will be a better place.
We appreciate you very much. Enjoy the rest of the off week. I know work to do, as you know, and then next week in Lubbock, but appreciate it all the time when we get access to you wherever we are. Thank you, Kalani. Continued luck the rest of the year.
God bless, guys. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Kalani Sitake, head football coach at BYU, with us on 365 Sports. Thank you very much. Appreciate Fletcher Like at Houston for setting us up with Willie Fritz, and, of course, Brett Pine at BYU for helping us get Kalani Sitake today on the show. When we come back, we'll have Paul Catalina's top 5. We'll check in if there's any super chats. If you want to get involved in that, we'll read whatever it might be. And then, of course, we'll spin the wheel, quizzes, and the poll results from Andrew Jiu-Jitsu. This is 365 Sports. IdealMRI.com. Dr. Rob Maxey and his partners had 2 promises to a customer, to you, the customer, when they opened up their doors over a decade ago with a state-of-the-art imaging machine. So you're going to get the evidence you need. Like, for example, when teams play the next day, they watch film. Film don't lie, and neither does an MRI machine. It tells you what might be pulled, torn, or whatever, or maybe nothing, and your doctor can make some sort of a, recommendation, diagnosis, and this is what we're going to do to fix why your knee, your back, whatever, doesn't feel very well. It could be surgery. Ideal MRI, state-of-the-art imaging machine, and $497 or less every single time, and that has been the way it is since they opened their doors. Dr. Rob Maxey, it's inside the Central Texas Marketplace in the southern part of Waco at IdealMRI.com.
Hey guys, I'm Abby Dommett, 2023 CrossFit Games athlete, and I use Airwave because it helps me breathe easier and stay more relaxed during my workouts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very discreet.
As life goes on, it settles into patterns. But it doesn't have to go that way. You just have to do one thing. Get out of the house. Get out of your comfort zone. Leave room for the unexpected.
American Tourister.
And pace.
What do you want? What's that really good non-alcoholic beer I keep hearing about?
Do you have that really great non-alcoholic beer that I keep seeing?
Being athletic, you're looking at it.
It's athletic. Ask for it.
Meet Beagle, your financial concierge. Find your old 401k. Discover your 401k hidden fees. Roll over and save thousands. Unlock your 401k and IRA. MeetBeagle.com.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Top 5 reasons this Texas A&M team is different, and they are different. I know of what I speak. I've been watching them my entire life. My dad was class of 65 at A&M. I chose a different path, a winner's path, by going to Florida State when I did. I told him that many times while he was alive. He didn't find it as funny as I did. But even still, I still a little bit bleed maroon because I love my dad. I have a ton of Aggie family, but this is in no way a biased look at the Aggies. I would like to preface it with that. My cohorts can tell you I am not I'm the worst homer in the world.
You are. You're a bit of a worse homer.
I'm not a great homer. I can still be a homer, but I'm not good at it. Like, it's just not something I can do. It's probably why I don't have a political party.
Probably.
I just, even the team that I like, I'm still mad at them all the time. So let's get into this. Number 5, interchangeable playmakers. This is Reuben Owens. At running back, now look, Le'Veon Moss is out for an extended period, but they also have Amari Daniels and E.J. Smith, who I'm going to talk about a little bit later, and young freshmen and guys who play. They have 4 to 5 players at every skill-making position, which really allows them to do a lot of things. Let's talk about the wide receivers. Craver, Angel Bethel Roman, Concepcion. They have got Terry Bussey. They have 4 guys right there. I don't even bring up some of the younger guys who have worked their way in as well. They can move them all around the lineup, all around formations, and they can replace them when they get hurt. See, I'm getting so excited about it. I'm getting choked up and stuttery. Number 4, they can win shootouts and rock fights, and that's because of this defense. Not just because of the offense, it's because of the defense. The defense can struggle against offenses that don't match up well against it. For example, the big win at Notre Dame and holding off an Arkansas offense that scores a lot of points and has a quarterback that's difficult to contain. The reason they can is they have guys like Torian York pictured here who just know how to make plays in the moment and who don't let the moment get too big for them and just know it's about this series, this play right here. If we can get teams off the field, we can win games. Number 3, innovative offensive coaching. Colin Klein up for a ton of head coaching jobs, I'm sure I at least mentioned. We'll see as the carousel spins and spins where he ends up, if he ends up anywhere. But his name is a hot name. Why? Because he's an innovative offensive coach. Jimbo Fisher's big flaw, not maybe the biggest, as the head coach at Texas A&M was, he had not changed his offense. It wasn't innovative. It wasn't new. It was the same thing he'd been running since LSU when he was the offensive coordinator there. So LSU, FSU, and then A&M, 3 straight jobs, he's running the same offense and not changing things. He had been figured out. If Jimbo Fisher ever gets back into coaching, he's going to have to change up what he was doing. But Colin Klein is constantly changing up what the Aggies are doing based on the matchup, and it has been amazing. Number 2, game management. This is something that Mike Elko is an absolute artiste at. This is E.J. Smith. He's probably the 4th running back on the depth chart, but he plays a lot, and he's a great role player for them. You know him as Emmitt Smith's son. E.J. Smith is the perfect game management running back because he comes in, he knows exactly how to keep the ball between the hashes and do exactly what they need him to do. They have several guys like that, but when you see E.J. Smith in the game in the 4th quarter, it's because he knows that kind of offense, and he's built to be the guy for the moment. Against Florida, they drained the last 8 minutes of the game away and really didn't let the Gators touch the ball again. It was an absolute masterclass on how to take a lead, hold it, and then just absolutely dry the clock to the bone. It was unbelievable. They have not. Kevin Sumlin could not manage a game. Oh, my God. He couldn't manage a Wendy's when he was the coach at A&M. It was ridiculous. Go back to that UCLA game, which eventually got him fired, and Josh Rosen drafted really, really high to say, hey, you have a 30-point lead and you blew it against the team called UCLA. We know how their history's been. And number one, and I put this all in caps, culture. Mike Elko is a culture coach. All that's in the past is in the past. All that's in the future you can't control. The only thing you control is the present, and they absolutely do that. It's culture, 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 accountability, and all of those things. He's accountable. His coaches are accountable. The players are accountable. Jimbo Fisher was just going in too many directions, and that really got hurt. So he's able to build with his players. He's able to build with guys he brought in from the transfer portal because he puts the onus on all of them together to move the thing forward. And that is different from the A&M we've seen for a great long while. That's going to do it for this top five. We've got Andrew Villade's Carnival right now. Ooh, look at that. Andrew tighten the old duct tape on the top there. All right. And this one is...
Oh, I got a correction on Elton.
On Elton? Okay.
My favorite song, I thought about this, was when Lady Diana was killed in the wreck.
Candle in the Wind?
Candle in the Wind, when he sang it at her funeral.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it. That's interesting. I would not have pegged that one.
Big Princess Di guy, huh?
I really liked her. I liked her.
I think that's like the proper title is like Candle in the Wind 97 or something like that to specify.
Because the first one was about Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Norma Jean.
Two women that left too early. Yep.
Okay. Which sport has the best movies?
Right off the top of my head, I said baseball.
Yeah, I think quantity, like the quality and quantity intersects here.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to say, like, there's some great ones in every category. Hockey probably has the least, sadly enough, because they haven't done.
Well, there's Slapshot, there's Miracle,
Mystery Alaska.
What? It's a hockey movie?
Mystery Alaska. You would like Mystery Alaska.
Right. Mighty Ducks, man.
Mighty Ducks.
Of course, Mighty
Ducks.
1 and 2, not as much 3, but and I didn't get any of the new Disney Plus thing. I wasn't going to leave that bad taste in my mouth.
Oh, Amanda and I watched it.
Oh yeah,
season 1 not bad, season 2 awful.
Can we bring up Amanda's big weekend?
Yeah, she's going to turn 40 this week.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
congrats to her.
But on Saturday, she's less than thrilled.
I bet.
But I would say I agree with you, Craig. I think baseball, when you go The Sandlot, The Natural, Field of Dreams, Bull Durham, Major League, Little Big League,
Perfect Game,
Rookie of the Year, The Perfect Game, The Rookie. I'm at 9 there, and I like Pride of the Yankees. That's 10 just off the top of my head. And if I started listing football movies, I'd probably get to about 5.
I think with football, there's like Remember the Titans is awesome.
Yeah.
Varsity Blues isn't like a football movie. It's got a lot of football in it though.
Yeah.
Like I love those movies, but
what was the movie about Permian? Wasn't that a
Friday
movie?
Night Lights?
Yeah.
That was fine. Like I enjoyed that just fine.
Just fine.
Well, I'd already read the book and I already knew the real story, so I don't really love the Hollywoodization of everything.
Craig's definition of fine is exactly it's fine.
It's
fine.
Average.
It's
not
mid.
Anything more than the right middle of the road, it's fine. Yeah. But yeah, a football's got. I did really love Hoop Dreams, even though it's more of a documentary.
Yeah.
I loved He Got Game at the time. So basketball has a couple that I enjoy. But yeah, I think volume-wise, I like baseball movies more than any other.
Finding Forrester is a basketball movie with Sean Connery.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Eddie.
But it's less basketball. He's a basketball player.
Yeah.
So it's not really a basketball movie.
Eddie with Whoopi Goldberg, the head coach of the
What about
Knicks.
White Man Can Jump?
White Men Can't Jump is really funny.
It's actually they can't jump.
I know, that's what I meant.
Okay,
I cut off part
White
of
Men
it.
Can't Jump is really funny.
Oh, there's the Basketball Diaries.
Oh yeah, that's that one's really
It's a little darker, but
it's really dark. Yeah, it's really dark.
But I'll go baseball to answer this question. If I had to here's the collection of DVDs from this one sport, I think I'd get the most enjoyment out of the baseball collection.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's like Bad News Bears. My gosh,
yes,
yeah, Bad News Bears.
What about the
Sandlot.
chick flick? The girls that
League of Their Own. Oh, I love League of Their Own.
That's a good movie
Another one.
too.
It's a fantastic movie.
I just said Sandlot. I don't think you heard me, but Sandlot's got to be in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Tom Hanks. There's no crying in baseball.
Yeah.
My father. He came to see the game.
Very good. Very well done, Andrew. All right, we're not done.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Let's go to some trivia questions.
So did we all agree on baseball? Is that what
No,
we're
I don't
doing?
think there's
Okay.
even a question now.
Okay. Which college football team celebration backfired in the 1985 Orange Bowl, leading to a penalty, a blocked field goal, and momentum shift? The tortilla toss, the Sooner Schooner, the cannon firing, or the eagle fight?
Well, the schooner
85
wouldn't. Schooner has tipped over a couple of different times,
Yes,
but
it
that wouldn't
has.
have anything to do with it on the field.
Well, who played in the 85 Orange Bowl?
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, who'd they play?
OU won it. They won the national title that year.
I believe so.
Yeah, so it's got to be Oklahoma because, first of all, I don't think Texas played in the Orange Bowl. It's been a long time since Army would have. And
Auburn probably not very often.
Yeah, Auburn's out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 85, I'm really pretty sure that was.
Sure as hell in 1985, Texas Tech was not playing in the Orange Bowl.
No, I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
And I don't know if they wouldn't have been Miami. Was it Miami? No, probably
yeah,
not.
I'm going to say, let's say Oklahoma. I think we're all in agreement on that.
There it is.
All right, Sooner Schooner prematurely rolled onto the field to celebrate a nullified field goal. Stuck in the muddy turf, it drew a 15-yard unsportsmanlike. Andrew, you trying to hurt me here? Is this a shot on a little side
Like
swipe?
bringing up Oklahoma or Florida State?
Or are you bringing up old
stuff?
stuff? 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, pushing the kick back to the 42, where it was blocked, keeping the score a tie. Washington was who they were playing. Would go on to score 2 touchdowns and win 28-17. Okay.
In 1985, you were just a wee lad.
I was like barely eyes open at that point.
But I would think that this, even then, probably made you cry in your crib.
I think that's the first.
He would have been 18 months old or something.
Yeah, he was probably upset.
Yeah,
Very
I
upset.
think my actual like crying, not because I was a baby, but because I was sad about something, was probably this right here.
Yeah, I mean, you probably needed a diaper change, and I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that or like Andre the
just-
Giant was beating up Hulk Hogan or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next one. In what decade did Nevada become the first state to legalize sports gambling? The 20s, the 30s, the 40s, or the 50s?
There's a die and cash. Oh nope, they're all
Well,
poker.
we've already told him he can't tip us off with these, so he's not going to do it intentionally.
You are sharp, man. You really are.
Well, we're not
It's
smart
a great
to,
looking
like,
graphic.
We should have just
say
said
out loud.
nothing and been like, "Hey, let's just let him like give us
Yeah.
clues without realizing it or
Yeah, we
something."
can talk to each other without him hearing us.
Yes.
When he's not in the room.
I have no clue on
What
this,
is that
guys.
logo
Let's
in the
see.
blue?
That's the state of
State of Nevada.
Okay.
With their state flag.
It didn't look like Sweden or
Yeah,
something
it's
like
their,
that.
it's their state flag inside the borders of their state.
I don't have.
I mean, would they
see.
have been sports gambling in the 20s, like
Yeah.
on horse racing and stuff?
When was prohibition
boxing?
and all that
But it
stuff?
really, Las Vegas didn't take off until the 30s and 40s. So I'm torn
Right.
between the middle two. Although it would be funny if it was 1950s, just because
The
that was
old
last
barn
thing they
cat
did.
saying the 20s.
You know what? That was prohibition, right?
Yeah. So
I did bring that up.
that's
Gotta make
Did
your
I
money
not say
somewhere.
that, Brent?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
All
I
right,
think
let's
maybe it's the
go with
1920s.
the 20s.
Damn it.
30s. See?
Old barn cat, you suck. No, okay. All right,
No,
so
you do.
Fred Balzer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Balzer. Signed Assembly Bill 98 into law in the 30s, officially legalizing gambling, included sports betting to help the state recover from the Great Depression. So it wasn't prohibition, it was depression. Landmark decision laid the foundation for Las Vegas to become the heart of American gaming and eventually the home of the nation's first licensed sports books. So,
All right.
okay.
I learned something
1930s,
today.
all right.
1930s. Okay. Now the poll results.
All righty.
Well, the Buckeyes. Go ahead, Paul. You take it. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
will the Buckeyes finish the season 13-0 and secure the number 1 CFP seed? Yes, Ohio against the world. No, Indiana Big Ten title, a roadblock.
I think I defer more to the latter just because it does feel like it's going to be really hard to go unscathed. And Ohio State's a very good team, but I don't think anybody this year is unbeatable. And I could just say like, oh, yeah, they're running the table. So I know this is just 13-0 and secure the number 1 seed. That's awfully tempting, but damn, Ohio State typically just handles their business, don't they? I mean, I know Oregon won it last year, but
And if they win a national title, it's usually not always, but they always lose a game. But that Indiana, man, if they played this weekend, who would you pick?
I think I'd still pick Ohio State,
Okay.
but
They don't let anybody score.
yeah, and they're Yeah, they're just really, really good. But I want to see that game. I want to see that for the Big 12 or the Big 10 title. I want to see that matchup specifically.
I do too. Both unbeaten too.
And I think really the only roadblock for Ohio State.
Well, it was supposed to be this weekend.
It's supposed to be Penn State, but then there's Michigan at the end of the year. I think in between that, they're okay.
Purdue, UCLA, and Rutgers. I hope so.
Is that who they play?
Yeah.
Okay, well then, yeah, they're definitely
they're never
pretty
going to play all of them. And well, we don't even know who that would be anymore. All right, so there we go.
I think if this was to say like run perfect to the national title, I'd say no. But 13-0 and the number 1 seed, I'll say yes.
Yeah. I said no because I'm rooting for the Hoosiers. Yeah. All right, doesn't mean I'm right. Okay.
Which Big 12 team has been your favorite to watch this year?
That's a great question.
Yeah. BYU wins, Tech in second, Cincinnati and Houston. For me, it's so far it's been BYU because I don't have to worry about injuries affecting the game so much. Cincinnati is up there too, though. I enjoy watching them, but BYU's better. They're more complete than Cincinnati. Cincinnati's not great on defense. They're good on defense. They're not great. BYU can make some things happen.
I'll tell you what I like about BYU. They've also been in some bangers, right? And Texas Tech had that early dominant win against Utah, and then the loss to Arizona State. But BYU's won some. That game last week against Iowa State. Like I have that multi-view, and I have it on 2 different flat screens, and I almost forgot about the game because I turned it for some reason, and I was, oh, damn. So BYU gets 42%, nearly 500 votes. Very well done.
Well, I think if we had told people 5 months ago before the season started that Cincinnati and Houston would be on this type of poll question, their fan bases would have been over the moon, much like they're probably feeling in reality right now. So didn't anticipate that necessarily. Thought maybe we'd be talking about a couple of other schools along with Texas Tech and BYU, but good for them. Good for them to get their respect here. I've enjoyed watching Tech, but I will go BYU, just the total package start to finish, the games they've been in. Tech's had a couple good ones as well, but I think BYU has had the slightly better season at this point, not only because they haven't lost, but Paul, like a lot of the stuff Tech's dealing with, like, the injuries to Baron Morton off and on, and now Will Hammond and Joyner at the beginning of the year, and who it was, a Skylar Gill-Howard they just lost.
Yeah, the defensive lineman about 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
there's been all that going on. I mean, I know that doesn't affect watching, but watching, I'd say I've been most entertained just slightly more by BYU than Texas Tech.
All right. Thank you very much, Andrew Valade, for the poll results, spinning the wheel on the donkey. And also thank you very much for the quizzes. We're doing okay, though. We should have started our record from the beginning. I think we're like probably.
I don't like that Andrew got to win.
No,
I don't like that Andrew got to win.
Vicious, angry young man.
And on a high note for him.
I don't like that we listen to some guy in the chat and let us throw us off.
No, old Barn Cat.
That's it. You've ruined it
thank
for
you
everybody,
very much.
Barn Cat.
For those of you who like the show today, thank you. If you have not subscribed, once again, we would love you to do that. We're closing in on 70,000 subscribers. And remember, we started from scratch. How much?
Less than 800 away.
Thanks for the super chat, Scott, Bobby, retired stockbroker John Peterson, and Kim. For everybody, thank you for watching 365 Sports. We're back tomorrow.